Hey, welcome to Feedback Def. I'm Sabi Reyes Kulkarni, the apostate music journalist. This interview with Keith Caputo of the band Life of Agony is probably the most important interview I've ever done. There's so much to say about this interview. I tried to record an intro, and it was going on and on for like 40 minutes, close to an hour. So there's a lot of ground covered here. And I'm just going to let Keith speak for himself. This is the entire interview, uncut, unexpurgated, warts and all. And if you like what you see, I would just ask that you hit the like and subscribe button and follow me on Substack, where you get essays as well, written essays and other things that I post on there, feedbackdef.substack.com. I do have a reaction video to what you're about to see, which I'll post a link to as well. Without further ado, however, I give you over to Keith Caputo. Thank you for watching.
You're a guy?
I am.
I thought you were a fucking girl, man.
um,
What your
well,
name? I thought you were a woman.
a lot of people think that. How much of a difference does that make?
A lot.
I mean, in terms of your expectations, in terms of what you, like, oh, I was going to talk to Sabby the lady, but this fucking guy.
I'm totally fucking with you, man. It doesn't matter shit. I'm fucking with
You know what? Headphones would actually be good. Here's why. Because if I happen to talk at the same time as you, I don't want to short your
you. All right.
signal.
I
That
just
way,
got a phone then, and then I'm at a full battery right now, but phones, they suck.
sure, sure. So, hello, and
What's up, Sabi?
Sabby.
Sabi?
Sabby
Savvy?
rhymes with crabby, spelled like baby.
Sabi.
Sabby,
Savvy. What's
or
up,
as
Savvy?
or as my friends, on the block will call yo Sab. That's what they call me. But anyway,
All right. Where you
uh,
from?
I'm originally from. I grew up in the South Bronx, but I've been up here in
Where's
Rochester for 35 years now. So
All right.
I left right before I turned 18.
All
I
right.
came up here. And I never had as thick of an accent as you guys, as you and Alan or Joey. So,
Yeah. Well, we're from Brooklyn, baby.
of course, oh, of course. The only time you can hear it is when I say the word dog or water, stuff like that. I don't say dog.
Right, yeah. Me either. I'm total Brooklyn, and I'll never ever want to erase that slang, coffee and water and all that.
Right. No, no, no. And the snap of the sense of humor I always thought was I always explained it to people. I said, from like a 10-year-old Dominican kid, playing stickball in the street to like a to whoever, there's a snap to the sense of humor that I really
Yeah,
love.
because
And
if you're like someone like me, even, when I'm fighting back, like politically online and shit too, it's like I kill them with a dark humor, and sarcasm. And I think a lot of New Yorkers possess that sarcastic darkness, that we all apply to life because life seems to be, Blake, what Blake said, life is all a stage, man. And it's just like, wow, it's the older I get, the more I realize, like, I just want to know who's behind the curtain with all this shit. You
mm,
know,
mm,
at this point in my life, I want to know who's really, you know, who's really. I have my suspicions, but I don't think um, a lot of my theories. Uh, the world is too infantile to um, understand them. I believe. I think the collective, the majority of the collective, is way too infantile to even want to entertain where my imagination goes or where my instinct goes as far as that kind of stuff. Um, politically speaking, and on that whole, on every level, spiritually speaking, everything.
Well, in terms of who is, I guess, guiding all of these or steering us, you know, it's felt to me for a long time like, yes, there are people pulling levers and in positions of power and making decisions, but ultimately, um, we created them to whoever or whatever they are. To you can point to things that are really nefarious and plotted out and calculated to be horrible, and these plots and everything. But I've always felt like those people, ever since George W. Bush, those people are us. They don't exist without us in a way. Like we want to be led and steered and herded. Some of us don't, but
I don't,
collective, right? But
you know, yeah.
collectively, like as a species, it's like we got to get over that
Mm,
first,
I heard that.
and then those people would disappear because there won't be a need for them to embody that for what the collective wants. It's like the collective wants to be parented the whole
Yeah.
time.
It's a very infantile collective. The majority is just like, I govern every aspect of my life, my psychological, my physical, my spiritual, my emotional, my medical. And I think if people were taught actually how to govern themselves, we wouldn't be in these kind of, I like that word, nefarious, uh, um, negative situations like what's been going on, with the Maui fires, then Ohio, then North Carolina, and now fucking, I mean, the patterns are so predictable. Um, and what I mean is that, yes, there's definitely families pulling the strings and puppeteering how they want to direct. Because in essence, um, I don't personally look at the human collective as livestock, but I
Mm,
know they do. And you said it, where people they want to be led, they want to be governed, no one wants to think for themselves. And then there's people like you and I that are complete like um I am and the older I've always been a nonconformist. I've been on the planet 51 years. Um I never voted in my life. I never will. These people do not serve us. They serve their own inhibitions. I mean, the human race, in a way, is a very parasitic
mm,
entity when you think about it. And I'm seeing that more and more. It's just like if humans weren't just constantly parasiting off of one another um, for gain, for financial gain, for this power, I don't know. Like to be honest, if you really want to go create, I'm not letting you. I honestly believe that there's some type of higher galactic federation. Not all of them are good. They present themselves as human politicians, but who knows? I'm open to all possibilities. I don't know really what to believe, but you know where I'm getting at.
sure.
I don't believe the faces that the faces behind the faces that we see aren't really the faces.
Mm,
And, whether someone like David Icke is right but I do believe that we are definitely not alone. I don't believe anything that we're told. Um, I don't subscribe to any subscription, whether it's medically, whether it's the globe, whether it's like there's nothing out in Antarctica. I completely believe there's probably hundreds of um, intergalactic higher species that are just reigning in technology and advancement and a more buoyant way of life. And the more and more I think about it, it's almost like we're this like we're the lowest vibration of the species. And I don't know, man. It's really weird. It's really cryptic what's going on, even with with Big Farm and the medical community. Never once before in my life. I mean, we all know that that Big Farm, all these predators, they prey on the vulnerable, but man, they've been up in their game going after the vulnerable more and more and more now to the point where they're going after children, and selling lies about trans children and confusing parents that only want to do the right thing. But, in this day and age, everyone wants fucking everything yesterday. A lot of parents are fucking up and they're destroying their children's lives. And that's where I come in. And that's why I'm hell bent on always being vocal about like this whole, you know, this, when you come from the old transsexual world, the old world transsexuals that had respect for women and children and would never think about violating the innocence and raping the minds of children. I'm sorry, but when I was 18 years old, growing up in transsexual bars, going out to the club at 1 a.m. in the fucking morning, there was not one child in sight. Now the drag queens are in the kids' schools. There's pornography books in the schools. There's you got, it's just, there's so much corroded. Either there's a lot of sinister play at work or just a lot of dumb people that really just don't know any better about especially things like every designer drug has side effects. What fucking planet are you living on, man? That everyone's and the funny thing is, I know I'm hitting you with a lot, but like yesterday, 4 years ago, everyone turned into a virologist. Everyone's a fucking vaccine expert. Now, as the pandemic, all the fucking news, all the bullshit came out, all the side effects, all the deaths, all the everything, everyone's still ignoring the truth. And now everyone has become an expert endocrinologist or an expert pediatrician on young children's lives. You got fucking motherfuckers that never took one hormone in their life, and they're crying out to the world for children to be on hormone therapy when it's the most horrific, most disgusting. All these doctors, they take an oath to do no harm. Well, they're doing a lot of harm. They're doing a lot of psychological harm because you got kids out there that already had 14-year-old children that already had double mastectomies. They're now 20. You don't hear it in the mainstream news, but all these kids and families, they're suing gender clinics because they've been misguided. What about, the physical trauma that these, like, for example, there's this one girl, Clementine. I've been following her story. She had a double mastectomy at 13, 14 years old. Anyway, they misguided her. They put her on all these hormones, irreversible surgeries. They misguided the parents. They're suing the clinic now. And now look at this girl. She's not even 20 years old. They've literally stripped away her right to make a decision as an adult, which to me, that's psychological trauma. That's also harm being done to children. Now, this kid, Clementine, a 20-year-old little girl that knows nothing because everyone at school is changing genders and teachers are changing kids' genders behind parents' back, and all this colluded bullshit is going on. And it's like, it's really cryptic. It's really scary. It's really sad. I can't believe what's going on, to be honest. And I've lived through it. So, like, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I get all this pushback from all these people, all these, like, woke fucking, you know, every publication you know, went pretty much woke. When I first came out, Rolling Stone was all over me. Now they won't even come close to wanting to even talk to me because I'll obliterate every false narrative that they're trying to sell to people. And I think it's absolutely disgusting what's been going on medically, especially in the human collective.
Well, so I wanted to talk to you about that because with detransitioners,
Mhm.
especially in my line of work, You mentioned Rolling Stone, and there, I mean, just about any music media outlet, they there's a legitimacy to when you transition from Keith to Mina and they supported it. And now there's an instinct to be like, well, this must somehow not be legitimate. Um,
Yeah, they're all calling me I'm anti-trans because I don't want parents to rush children I don't want parents rushing their decisions, and I don't want children, because they're all misguided. We're in a culture that literally made the trans the sacredness of the trans experience. They literally turned that into the new fucking Happy Meal at McDonald's. Let's be fucking real. There's one out of every 10,000 kids that's usually trans. Now the upkick has been so imbalanced, and it's because of the phones. Because kids, listen, I was a kid too. My identity, I struggled with it my entire life. My identity as a man was obliterated as a kid. Okay. And I struggled with that up until, and good thing I never made any irreversible permanent changes. And these are the things they don't want people saying, because this interferes with big business and all these corrupt fucking devils. And they're selling it to the public like there's no side effects with hormones. I had to sign a consent form 20 years ago, literally listing, and I have it for us if you want to even go that route, from Beth Israel Hospital, where I had to sign a consent form because you're going to be putting hormones into your body and it's going to wreak havoc, is all they were basically saying. So be prepared. And I had to sign off on all these side effects that could possibly happen with me. And now, suddenly, 20 years later, in this climate, in this trendy, more than this faker than ever world, there's no side effects. Suddenly, they,
yes, you had informed consent,
yeah,
basically,
yeah. And
at
and
the
everyone
time.
else is, and let me just tell you, being the way I am, I have to say, I've toured with the biggest bands. Just this summer, we played with a very big band, and their manager came up to me. I'm not going to say who because I don't want to out anybody. It's not nice. Anyway, he manages a huge band. Comes up to me. I'm watching the band on the side of the stage, and I get some random hug and kiss from some random dude saying, "I love you. Oh my God, I love you so much. I love how you are online. You're fearless. You're really putting your truth out there, your experiences. Blah. I just want to let you know that you literally saved my daughter's life." And I'm like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" And he was like, "A year ago, my daughter wanted to be a boy. She wanted to go on hormone therapy. She wanted to remove her breasts. Down the staircase, down the fucking line. All of her friends were doing it. She feels this way because the group of friends. I just want to let you know, you saved my daughter's life. I literally sent her to your page to watch my friend and what at the time she's going through. Please watch and listen carefully." 2 weeks later, the girl didn't want to go on hormones. The girl didn't want to turn into a boy. The girl wound up being just a tomboy. She's a drummer in a band now. She's on the softball league. She's just a girl that resonates with her divine male energy. Because this is what we are as entities. We have the anima and the animus psychologically. We have divine male energy and we have divine female energy. As a kid, I naturally gravitated towards everything that was feminine, but that didn't mean I'm biologically a woman. The way they're selling it, the way men are in women's sports, and all this bullshit. Okay? more ways to violate the biological woman and rape the innocence of young children. And a lot of things are at play because right now, in this very significant time in history, we're experiencing the first time of a megalithic merging of the digital world and the biological world. You're a smart man. I'm sure you know everything about transhumanism. I'm sure you heard about this 30 years ago, where transhumanism, for your listeners, for the people that don't know what the fuck that is, that's just the merging of the digital and the biological entity. So, what we see here, these phones, every young boy or girl wanting to change their identities because they see everyone else doing it. That's what's that term? Proxy housing by
Munchausen by proxy.
that's exactly what the it's a mass psychosis thing that's going on. This is a real thing.
Yeah.
This
A,
influences people, man.
a social contagion is the other term. And it's what you're getting at is more profound. It's a sense that our identity can be just switched around like
Mm-hmm.
avatars on like a message
Yeah,
board or what's the gaming sites, the name escapes me, but when they do gaming and then it's like, oh, I'll
yeah.
just change my avatar and
Yeah, that
change
that
myself into
fight
something.
that fighting game where like in the Black Mirror thing where the two black guys, one of the guys want picked a white woman. Next thing you know, they're making love, and it's like
Right.
and it's like this whole thing's going on, and but this is a real thing. People are like we were talking about earlier in the conversation, how people want to be led. Now you got all these children. Just imagine how hard it must be as a child to be growing up in this day and age. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and I had identity issues. Um, but thank God I didn't grow up today because my parents may have taken me to the clinic to get a new designer vagina. And then here I am at 51 years old where my dysphoria and disorientation literally worked itself out through the years. By the way, I'm not on hormones for 7 years. I think by being on hormones for almost 20 years, experiencing all the side effects physically, emotionally, psychologically, and then finally leveling up to myself and saying, yo, motherfucker, I don't care what you do. It's like you cannot fight the nature codes. Your body is instinctively telling you, your mind, your whole being. For years, my being was saying, yo, this is not serving you. What are you doing? And I let that carry on for a few years until one day I said, you know what? I'm not doing this ever again. I stopped hormone therapy. It's 7 years later. Here I am. It all worked itself out. I do a lot of plant medicine too. I'm sure that accelerated a lot of the trauma that has been stuck in the fibers of my neurological system, because that's how trauma works.
Right.
Uh, it
Stored in the body in the nervous system.
Everything we go through, the lineages, the thousands, millions of lives that we must have lived as souls, if you believe that, is carrying around all that trauma, all that body trauma. So all that trauma I was feeling as a kid was probably not even mine. It was just years and years. Anyway, it all worked itself out. And I'm just so grateful and thankful that I didn't do anything stupid, because when I was 20, I thought I wanted to do that and do this and do everything to completely rid this reminiscent teeth figure that everyone knows. But like, facial feminization was never in my path. Going down there was never a part of my path. It was something more spiritual. It was deeper um than cutting up my body. And it's strange throughout this whole process. I honestly I relate trans people as cutters. And I can
Mm.
safely say that I used to cut, but I'll never cut again because I only did top surgery because after the years and years of hormone therapy, one boob grew nice and one boob grew very, one boob just didn't grow nice at all. So that's why I did elective and I went to a Dr. Morin, who's an incredible surgeon. Um, and that's why I made the elective decision. Otherwise, I just wanted to know. It was more about really a mental health issue thing. I thought hormones would really help my instabilities mentally and all the psychosis and everything I grew up with and all the traumas that made me me. You know, I'm a person that I'm a deep, complex, I'm a self-investigator. I love to investigate the self. I'm still at 51. I still been asking the same questions. What am I? Who am I? Where am I going? Where did I come from? Why are we here? All this, these heavy, what's the word? Sacha, existential, all these existentialistic feelings, instincts, and thoughts that I have coincide what I believe I might have mixed up the gender dysphoria and all this stuff because I'm self investigating. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I am on this planet because we aren't what we're being told. Life is so much more complex and deeper, and I want to know all the answers. And that's why I did what I did to begin with to find out answers about my own soul because Biden ain't going to teach us, Trump ain't going to teach us about the soul. We don't have. And everything that we do know about the layers of our humanity is buried deep in the Vaticans, many Vaticans, not just one Vatican. And they don't make that public knowledge because they don't really want us knowing what we are and who we are and where we came from and what we're doing on the planet and are we on a globe or are we under the firmament, like we have no answers about anything and I want all the answers and that's why I do the things that I do and that's why I'm very prolific and very passionate and I've been through it. I've been through the whole hormone process. I've been through the all the gender fucking clinic, all the jokesters, you know, it's a big game, my friend, and and it's a big joke. And listen, as an adult, do what you want. Sew a dick to your neck. I don't give a fuck. But stay away from the women and the children. Okay? Like do what you want as an adult, you know? And now like I got promoters. I don't cry about it online and stuff, but I got a lot of people that don't want to work with me now because suddenly I'm transphobic because I want to prolong the innocence of children and before puberty and after puberty there's many side effects, trust me. I got the list for us because I want to read through it and I got about, I don't know if you could see behind me, see all
Mm-hmm.
those, I got about 2,000 books that go across my whole other at least 60 of those books are all about the sacredness of transsexualism, books from doctors that have been studying transsexualism for 60 plus years, not these fucking 20-year-old jokesters that want to tell you there's no side effects. Meanwhile, there are. And yeah, I think it's a big joke, man. And I am certainly, I have so many transsexual girlfriends that are like you go, that I'm speaking the truth for all my old world transsexual friends that have no voice because the world made, the world wants infantile people like Dylan Mulvaney to reduce a woman to a handbag and a fucking thing of lipstick. And when she's asked about men and women's sports, she has no answers. When she's asked about children on hormones, she's got no fucking real answers. And when these jokesters like Dylan Mulvaney and Laverne Cox and all these frauds, when they're asked serious questions about convicted felonists that they've raped women a bunch of times, convicted multiple times, and they just put 287 new convicted male rapists that suddenly identify as a trans woman, and they're throwing these fucking men in women's prisons. But no one's got anything real to say about it. What happened to the women? What happened to the rights? What happened to the voices of the women? It's the new book burning, dude. It's the new witch burning. All these subtleties that we see, that's the way I look at it. Men and women's sports, listen, dude, you can do whatever you want. You're not a biological woman. You might be trans, but that just means you're playing with energy. And you could play with energy your entire fucking life. I'm not on hormones. I'm taking these. But if I want to get dolled up and play with the feminine, I can. It's like you don't need drugs, you don't need surgeries for that.
Well, and you're saying you don't need to claim that as something that's yours, that belongs to people who are born female. You're saying that's not like you're also saying there's a limit to how much of that people who are born men can claim, i.e., playing in sports, being in prisons, spaces, safety, things like that.
Men
So
can't claim shit. Men had never had their first period and they'll never have their last period. Men, young boys like me, or even little boys that think they're girls, you're not. You
they
may
don't have the
think,
brain. They don't have the brain changes.
yeah,
According to the, they don't have the hormonal matrix to experience that. Now, so okay, so here's the thing. So just to put my cards on the table,
yeah.
I am very much in line with what you're saying about what we euphemistically now refer to as gender youth care. I'm very much opposed to that. I'm very much opposed to inculcating kids into thinking along these lines and into not giving them informed consent. However,
Before you
I
go, let me just say, listen, if your son thinks he's a she or your daughter thinks she's a he as a very youngster, if I had that with my children, I'd let them play. But the deal I make with the child's, hey, no hormones, no surgeries until you're out of my fucking house. Okay? You can play, we can go to school, you can behave the way you want until my son or daughter realizes, like, I don't want to be a boy and I don't want to be a girl. But the children, they need part of the care is let them exercise this out.
sure.
But we don't need to involve any kind of drugs, surgeries. These people are sick.
Or even to steer them,
Right.
like I said, what we euphemistically refer to as gender affirming care is actually restricting, as I know you're aware. But so I'm very much opposed to that aspect. However, I am open to the idea that there is something in humanity that is expressing itself in a malleable form that we have yet to be completely familiar with. And the person who convinced me of that was you when you said, and it wasn't the Loudwire interview from 2017. I was looking for it, preparing to talk to you, but you said something to the effect that, this is the next step in human evolution to be able to as you say, play with these energies. That's not the exact phrasing you used at the time, but I've always been like, huh, well, that is something that we do have to consider. So, what would you say now to what Mina was saying in 2017? If there were a dialogue between the two of you, like if Mina were in this, like on this call, what would that back and forth be like? Because, and I want to say this, I I think because some of these, you're a very meta, like a meta meta conscious being. We are all conscious of what we are, right? We're always sort of examining the self, right? And you've gone so far down that track
I
that
went too far.
okay, so you've considered all these different things, and and
Mm.
I'm curious what to the outsider, it seems as if, man, that's abrupt. Like the first time back in 97, oh, that's abrupt. And then the next time, this time, I could see how the outside observer would be like, well, that's really an abrupt change. What's to say Keith won't change, do an about face again? But I don't, what I want you to explain is why this is not a complete about face. Why there are threads in what you're saying now that were consistent with what Mina was saying in 2014, 2017, and up until now. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Well, I
not,
wish you had the exact quote so I can actually bounce off some words with that, but I think I know what you're talking about, and I would say the same thing. It's like, listen, we're a mysterious creature. We're all soul. Our body vibrates at such high speeds of light that we think that this is matter, but it really isn't. We are the living embodiment of the Godhead that is expressing itself throughout every human being on the planet. I'm all for expressing and being yourself and wearing whatever you want or tattooing yourself however you want.
and you're all about, not to cut you off, but I just want to highlight, you're all about channeling the universal archetypal energies
Yeah,
that everyone,
I want people to harness their own shaman within because we all have these I believe, you know, it's so hard to kind of put into words, but it's life is a dance. Life is a sing and dance of energy. I always knew deep down inside that I wasn't a biological woman. Okay. I'm not delusional. I'm crazy. I'm not insane, but I'm not fucking delusional. I'm very I'm like a Jungian, I'm always putting everything under the petri dish, even with myself. And life is vibration, frequency, and energy. The voice and the words you hear that are being spoken, that's energy being moved. That's vibration coming out of my body. But the soul that's inside the body is infinite, is what is what was kind of like my point as well with breaking my own. um See, I'm a nonconformist by heart as well. So when you tell me that I'm a man and I live in this male body, we do live in a time where you can express yourself, but of course, with medical and surgical intervention, you, you can live any way, you can change into anything. And I do believe that the soul doesn't have a gender. I do believe that the soul is just this energy, vibration, and frequency, but because of the vessel that we're housed in, the soul gets comfortable in the predetermined spacesuit that we're given, this flesh bag. Unless one, see, I realize that my life and my soul, everything is so intense to me that I realize that when I leave my body is probably when I will experience the greatest upheaval and joy that I've ever experienced. I think it's very hard being in a body for me. My soul, whether it's manipulated and hybridized by my own hand or having just my regular male space suit, it's all a limiting experience for me.
Mm.
to be quite honest. And that's where I differ from most people. Most people are on this puddle deep journey. I feel like I'm on a. I've never heard anyone speak about the trans experience the way I experience it.
You're speaking about it as a somewhat something of crossed wires, but also an attempt between the earthly and the spiritual to reconcile and find some common ground. That's really
Yeah,
what I'm hearing is like
yeah. Thank
between.
you. I'm trying to find some peace with the mystery of everything and like the physical counterparts that we like. I'm inside this male suit, but honestly, if the if the creator itself came here and was like, okay, you're at this point in your journey. Can I take your soul? Do you want to stay in this male Keith suit, or would you prefer a new female spacesuit and carry on as a biological woman through the rest of your life? I would pick a biological female spacesuit because that's where my soul. So I'm this feminine entity inside of this male vessel. But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that. I just created those traumas for myself. As a child, I ran with that and I got hell bent on turning myself into a woman. Even though I know I can never be a real woman because I don't have the organs, I don't have the biological female vessel. And that's why I'm very protective of women's rights because as a man, thinking that he's a she is a very different experience than actually coming into the planet and coming out of your mother's womb as a biological female. I'll
With the
never,
ability with I'm sorry, go ahead. You'll
no,
never. No, 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 no. I'll wait.
like I
You'll
told you before, like I, as a boy, I never grew up to be. That's why I hate when I hear all these clowns talking today that they're biological women. It's like, dude, you're not a girl. You didn't grow up being a girl. You never had your first experience. You don't know anything about growing up as a little girl. You're just a man, a boy in your imagination that you gravitate towards all these things and desires. And you go after these desires to fulfill these desires that you think is going to make you happier in the present moment. That's what we do. We go after these desires in the present moment. We're all on this quest to experience the fleeting experience of what we call happiness, basically. And
or
I,
communion or something or I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I my whole life I tried to experience a wholeness within, where I felt like I have many punctured holes in my soul that I'm trying to figure out, and I'm just trying to be the best, most healed version of who I am, and I'm at 51. My mind and my heart, my instincts, my desires are very different than when I was 15 years old. When I was 15, I wanted to change my face. I wanted to get tits. I wanted to get a designer vagina. Or I wanted to live my life as a woman. I didn't want to sing for rock and roll. I wanted to get rid of that character, Keith Caputo, that everyone, you know, and also too, when you're public, when you're, like like, dude, I don't really give a shit what people think. You think I really give a fuck if Joe Schmo thinks that I'm gonna just turn around and if I did, it's no one's business what I'm doing in my life anyway. If I want at 60 years old go back to living as a fucking manufactured woman, I'm gonna do that. And no one's gonna fucking tell me what's right and what's wrong to do. As long as I don't violate the boundaries of other people. Do whatever
No,
the.
no, but as somebody who's really invested in this meta investigation, like your life can be framed that way, right? As a as a study or a journey into the self and everything that that
Yeah.
entails, right? We would be curious about where is the common thread throughout all of that. And I think that, when I hear you talk, what I'm really struck by is that this push and pull between men. You talked about somebody who was born male. They don't know what it's like to be a little girl. They don't know what it's like to be desired in the way, right? All they're doing is mostly projecting a very limited, sort of flat, two-dimensional idea of womanhood through a
Yes.
male's eyes. They're projecting the male gaze onto a woman that they want to portray. So that's the one side.
I did that too. I That was part of what I wanted to be desired as a woman. I wanted to be looked at as a woman, as a or a trans woman, whatever, Biological woman doesn't even it's not even in just as I was chasing pretty in my younger years, which a lot of this is part of it. People, you have these men that they want to be beautiful, they want to look pretty,
Sure.
they want to feminize. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay? You just you just got to be a respectful fucking human being, And I'm most of my friends are trans, both female to male. Buck is one of my best friends. Buck is the trampar of the game. I was fucking 15 years old when I saw Buck Angel on VHS VHS porn things. I was like, wow, how did a heart condition?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say wisdom from,
the
places we
doggy.
don't.
No, she's
Okay.
she's been suffering with her heart condition, and for some reason, it's been getting more intense lately. Um, but yeah, I looked at the VHS tape at 15 years old, like, wow, like I I I I was so confused that a man can have a vagina, but it was like only because I was 15 and I didn't understand that it was really a biological woman that literally just, removed her breasts and went through that, you design by your own hand. It's like people with tattoos, you have people that love just the old rockabilly, old school tattoo, and then you have people that are completely blackening their whole bodies out. I mean, there's ranges. It's all a play. This whole dance of humanity, it's a play on energy.
Well, that's what I was saying. So that's what I was getting at is like, so on the one hand, you can legitimately make the case, as you were saying, and as I also feel, it's like you don't have the fucking endocrine system
No.
to be able to say like anything, or even just to be desired like that by men, or to feel unsafe, or to feel smaller and more vulnerable. Okay, but on the other hand, is there some collective body of awareness that on a soul level we all do know what it's like to be different, and we are yearning to cross that barrier? And maybe this is a sign of, yes, I'm totally with you on the transhumanism thing and on the agendas behind this, and on all of that. I've heard those arguments. I mostly concur with those arguments, but I also wonder whether there isn't something that's like, okay, are we raising our consciousness to the point where more is getting through, and
Hmm.
we are channeling more
Yeah.
the opposite sex, all of us
Yeah.
at this point.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well said. Incredibly said. You're exactly right. It's what I'm trying to say to you. However, leave the drugs and the surgery out of it unless you're an adult.
And even
Children
then,
children are showing us, I'm one of them, that you can take this great unknown and shape it any way you want. Consciousness is collectively There's a great awakening happening. And I'm glad people are playing with their genders, but go slowly. Drugs, the drugs they're disgusting. They create this. It creates more harm than good. And especially and just apply your common sense, if you have any, about surgeries, because you don't want to do anything overnight and irreversible with all these young children, because young children, they're very vulnerable. They haven't they don't know what their identity is, most of them. They're all over the map. It's these phones, these gadgets, the new world order, these propaganda machines are confusing them even more. My whole point, I'm all for this universe, whether people like it or not, is going to burst through the seams of people that, let's just say you had the complete opposite viewpoints that I had, and you were completely against it, and but there's a real life. This is what I keep saying. Life is all about energy. All we are, the souls that we are, it's energy. All this fear propaganda that the media sells, they're harvesting our energy. This is what's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of fucking years, man. It's all about energy on the planet. And I'm all for it. But you don't have to lock children up in their you don't have to teach children that their bodies are wrong and they're bad and you need to cut your tits off. And one of the treatments of care before a girl goes on testosterone is to remove their uterus, their ovaries, for preventative
Yeah.
for preventative side effects, because a woman on testosterone, a lot of them get ovarian cancer, they get fallopian tube cancer. So the genius is they're doing these surgeries before even putting them on hormones. What the
Yeah.
fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Just
It's
say, yo, dress up as a boy, go buy a fake beard, go buy a dildo, go. You see what they're doing to these children's arms? They're literally skinning their arm alive to the point where it's just bone to make a fake penis. That's care.
which can't, which won't give them the sexual fulfillment in the first place. And, you know,
Secondly, just imagine what that thing looks like.
well, and also
It's
it's,
disgusting, dude.
it's,
It's not
it's,
right.
and also just the gung ho, like, full speed ahead lurch into sterilizing children is so chilling. This just occurred to me maybe 2 weeks ago. The There is no more dangerous a person that will willingly carry out the intentions of evil than the person who thinks they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So much of this is like those people who think they're being compassionate are being used as instruments.
Yeah. Let me just put it in a simpler way. Doctors take an oath not to do any harm. But these doctors, without common sense, what they're not thinking of, it's like, okay, so you just gave this 14-year-old a double mastectomy. You gave her everything that she wanted. She's on her, looks like a boy, great. What happens 10 years, maybe 5 years later, when the girl wants to turn back into a boy? You've
And
just
you like,
removed parts. You've just, as a doctor, you literally stripped this child's right away to make, when this child becomes an adult, you've already destroyed her rights as an adult to make adult decisions for her own life, because you as a doctor, you swore to take an oath to do no harm. But this is what I'm talking about. What about the psychological harm that these doctors are leaving for all these detransitioners now and all these families? That's not harmful. Psychological harm. Now this girl, Clementine, 20 years old, no tits, got this removed. That now she wants to be a girl again. and now her life is destroyed. Now this girl is going to be literally a walking ball of fucking psychological trauma for the rest of her life. You, as a doctor, just ruined this little young girl's life.
Yeah, and I mean that alone is quite chilling and obviously gives you pause. What I think is really worth all of us looking into is how did so many well-intentioned people become convinced that that was not only okay, but it was something we had to aggressively push for. You know, I'm sure you're familiar with Proposition 1, which passed in New York State, and it's been so interesting talking about that with parents who just don't grasp that there's language in there that gives the state the puts in the New York State Constitution the ability for the state to get in there and act uh, uh, get in there and act in a way that is a direct linkage with children by circumventing parents, and at least that's the language is in there for them to do that. And it's amazing how many people just don't see this or don't see. They think that you can put anything under the umbrella of compassion, and what you're saying, they're just deaf to it. There's
Yeah.
well, and I don't.
I believe that they know it's wrong.
Hmm.
I don't fucking, I'm not even fucking around with them. I believe that what they're doing, they know it's already wrong.
Well, who's they? Who are you? Who do you mean? The medical
Yeah.
authorities or okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doctors, I'm friends with everybody. I've been around the block. I'm friends with surgeons. I'm friends with so many different. There's so many surgical medical turf wars going on behind the scenes with doctors that would never do that or would never operate on a young kid versus all the people that think they're doing a service to families and where they don't know nothing about the phenomenon of transsexualism. 10 years ago, they let all the trans people fucking, they could give a fuck less. It's all about money. It's the
Mhm.
bottom line is money. You know what happened? I'm going to put things into perspective for you. And something that I was watching that I saw. Once COVID stocks went down, once Moderna stocks went down, once Pfizer stocks went down, once all the truth started getting out into the world about all the side effects and and everyone pulled all their money out of the stocks. Bill Gates pulled out all. Guess who they went after next? The next fucking collective group of vulnerables, and that's the trans kids. There's no more money to be made with the gays, right? There hasn't been in years. But for the trans, there's a lot of money because guess what? You can take your clinic today and get a $20,000 hormone block. When I was growing up, I had to I had to see three therapists, and I had a choice to go see the doctor who would prescribe me hormones or the doctor who wouldn't prescribe me hormones and would force me to live as a woman for 2 years before any hormones were administered. It was a very different game. They were very careful about it. Now you could take your kid don't. Let me just mention one thing to you. Whatever happened to therapy for the parents and for the children? I went to 3 years at that. I went to see a gender therapist when I already knew. I was already going to the club at 16, going to the gay bars, the swinger parties, the transsexual parties. I was already there at fucking 18 years old. I already knew. So, like, I lived my life as Keith Caputo. I did all these things with music, blah, blah, blah. But when I went home, I put the keypad on and I lived out this discombobulated, imbalanced self. I tried to find balance throughout my life. And um, man, and all the right transsexual girls who they're on Netflix, all professional people who had bottom surgery, they also too directed me to the right therapists, which would direct me to the right endocrinologist, which was the guy, Dr. Bartalos, who has been studying the phenomenon of transsexualism for over 55 years, has written many, many books. The first thing we talked about, babe, was side effects. Okay. This
Right. I
this is
heard you
how
tell. I heard you tell Buck Angel, Tylenol has side effects, which is something that that's, I've always said something very
Yeah,
similar to people who will like refuse to look at any potential, they refuse to
yeah,
even hear any potential side effects with vaccines of any
yeah,
kind.
yeah.
It's like, well, on a fucking bottle of Advil, you read it's got side effects. Why is that conversation not okay to have in
Dude,
this
I
other
just had a
context?
fucking, I get migraines really bad, and I don't take anything, but if I can't take the sinus and the pain anymore, I pop an Advil, right? You know what my number one side effect from an Advil is? I'm dry heaving over the bowl for about 2 hours, like this, like the act of vomiting, but nothing comes out. And that's what the Advil does to me. It helps a little bit, but it's usually the weed. But I had to quit because I have my surgery January 28th. So I'm trying to behave and not smoke and stuff like that before my surgery. But dude, and that's why the big farm and the culprits today. And first of all, another thing, Bill Gates and WF, they have their hands all over gender affirming care, which right there, they've punctured holes and botched it all up already because they're all psychopaths. And I don't care who says what about that. They're all psychos. Bill Gates is a fucking psychopath, fake philanthropist killing millions of people around the world.
Yeah,
Every
well, he doesn't appear to have like you can tell he's a very like emotionally stunted
Yeah,
being.
yeah,
Like he has
yeah,
there's something like essentially human missing from
yeah,
his
yeah.
it's
He's
just like a
probably a fucking reptilian, dude.
he or he he reminds me like of something that would have been created in a lab where the empathic bandwidth is just very narrow. That's
Yeah,
every time I see him, it's like this like sad robot creature that's just like, well,
yeah.
vaccines and
Fauci too.
yeah, there's
Fraudchi too. These people aren't right, dude. And what I'm loving about the whole climate of the world is that here's what's happening. All the darkness is being exposed across the globe, and that's because of this. We've been talking about it. A grand megalithic cataclysmic awakening that's happening on the planet right now. There's people like us, and then there's the livestock that still want to be led into the fucking right off the cliff,
into a
and
meat grinder, really, is what
yeah,
I feel like.
and I refuse to go there. And honestly, dude, I speak out the way I speak out because I suffered. I still suffer, but I've suffered so much in my life, especially as a kid. And I'm very compassionate, man. And I know gender identity, gender dysphoria and disorientation, it's a real fucking thing. And it wreaks people that really, I really wanted to beat it. And I'm very proud of myself for where I've arrived because this debilitating psychological crutch, like, it destroyed a lot of my life. It destroyed my personal life. It destroyed every relationship that I was in. You know, I just, I've been single 15 plus years, probably most of the time that I came out. And, you become a sex object. Um, People just want to fuck with you because you got best of the both worlds. No one really thinks about your heart or that I'm actually a living fucking soul and I do want to be loved. Um, it's just so what happened was, sorry, I'm a little bit of a scatterbrain, but
Sorry.
when all those stocks and all that stuff, when everyone started pulling out, what I saw an uptick in was Big Farm going after suddenly all the trans kids that think they're trans, but don't really wind up being trans at the end of the day anyway, because 1 out of 10,000 kids are really, really trans. I grew up, my first doll was a Princess Leia doll. Something was wrong with me. I knew even as a child that I didn't have the name for it, but I was either a chosen one or a star seed or an indigo kid or one of those INFJ fucking motherfuckers. Cause like, I'm very different. I didn't experience life, it almost felt like that I should have had my entire life a female spacesuit, and I didn't. And that's where my big disconnect was throughout my whole life. And then I became as popular as all fuck. Then I was already playing in front of 100,000 kids at 20 years old in Europe, headlining the biggest festivals there were. And everyone knew me, and it was like, and then by the time Soul Searching Sun came, I couldn't take it. I was going to put a bullet in my head because I couldn't live as a man anymore. When you think about transsexualism, transgender, also put in these with transcendence, you're transcending your biological self, your meat suit, in a way, by medical and surgical design. You're not really doing it. You can play and play pretend, but it's all by the miracle of doctors and medicine and this and that, where we can allow our imaginations to run a fucking muck, to the point where now every other fucking girl looks like Joan Rivers. Because you know what? It's not just with the trans that's a big problem. Let's talk about
No,
other
it's with the
issues like
lips
the
and the
lips.
yeah.
Everyone's a fucking rubberhead. You
Hmm.
have the most gorgeous girls. 2 years later, they look like, here comes this new rising star in Hollywood. Look at Ariana Grande was gorgeous before any plastics or anything. Look at her now.
Yeah.
Look at what Hollywood has done to her.
It's
Look
almost
at,
the same as
yeah, yeah.
as a body.
All
It's,
these
it's
all these beautiful people. I toured with Ozzy 20 something years ago before Sharon Osbourne and her kid had any kind of cosmetic surgery. Now look at them. I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. I love you, Sharon, but this whole plastic surgery thing, too, is also a form of body dysmorphism, body or
sure.
facial disorientation. Because once you get cut up, nigga, you gotta cut up for the rest of your fucking life. Okay? And honestly, that's not empowerment to me. And it's another reason why I just put the brakes on me, because it's like, okay, you're not on hormones. And so we can go for facial feminization surgery. I can either go that way and maintain the trauma,
And also the sense that
or
you're always trying to get at something that's just out of reach.
thank you, I love the way you put things, babe. Perfectly said. Very well said. It's like so in order to chase pretty, I basically got to chase the knife for the rest of my life, which made me conclude to, like, you know what, that's not empowerment to me. I'm not a cutter. I'm not going to chase pretty and chase the knife. Like, that's why I said, like, being trans in a way is almost like being a cutter, because it's like being the new cutter, because you're not doing the cutting yourself, but you're giving the knife to someone else, and you're basically going to chase that someone else for the rest of your fucking life. So you're part cutter in a
You're
way.
subscribing to a cutting service is really
Thank
what
you.
it
I
is.
love it. Yeah. That's why you're a journalist, dude. I love it. Yep. But am I right though? And honestly, babe, there's no empowerment in that for
No,
me, personally
it's being
speaking.
changed. So again, we get to the discrepancy between what the spirit wants and what the body can deliver. And at a certain point,
Exactly.
you have to, and I'm only thinking of it in these terms since you've been talking, you know, over the last hour. You know, you have to get to a point where it is all these spiritual traditions teach about not like letting go of the urge to control.
Exactly.
And that's really the only way to find peace is to start with what is and where you're at. And you mentioned Joan Rivers. I remember seeing that documentary, and I remember even as a kid watching her on TV and just intuiting she's never going to stop. And she was actually beautiful in her like I saw footage of her from the
They
50s
all were, babe.
and I was like, "Wow." And but it's like we have to accept you're not getting that back. And if even if you did, this is the thing with the trans discussion that needs to be put forth. It's like we are all bending to support this idea that that you are now this state that we all know you're never going to feel like you actually are.
Yeah.
You are,
Because you're not. That's the
yes,
reality.
exactly.
And that's why we call them trans women and men, because you're slightly transcending the vessel you've been born in, but by medical and surgical design. So technically, technically you're playing, we're all playing God to some degree, and they're playing God more than ever these days, especially the doctors. But when listen, I have my one of my friends, all my girls, I won't say her name, but she's an Asian transsexual. She had about 10 facial feminization surgeries. And we're all like, girl, you were fucking gorgeous before the first one. And it's getting worse and worse. Soon, you're not even going to have a nose, babe. These are the conversations I have with my real girls.
Well, look at
You
Michael Jackson, which is what I mean. It's like a drug that like with drugs where you need more and more and more of a dose to get a smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're never getting back to what that initial heroin blast was like,
Right,
right? And then you OD and die or whatever, or
right,
you um,
right.
waste
Yeah.
years and years of your life.
Yeah, for years I did coke as in my 20s, chasing that first line I tried it on, which was the greatest. And then it was like years of saying to myself, I fucking hate uppers. I hate coke. What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? It's like that, dude. It's like, you
Well,
know,
as a good friend of mine, musician, put it, he said, after a while, you're not doing it to feel high. You're doing it to avoid how shitty you're going to feel without it.
yeah, exactly.
And this is what, you talked about the lips. I mean, man, like when you watch women go through
The
that
lips, the
transformation and it just seems
cheekbones.
so, and it's like so synthetic looking and it's like, wow, beauty standards are really extremely powerful psychological driver in people. I mean, people will do, I mean, if all of a sudden, in like 2 years, it's like, oh, we're going to do staples across your skull. People would start doing that if they thought that it was considered
I can't
beautiful.
believe you said this because I said a similar thing to a friend weeks ago. I said, soon technology is going to give us the ability to sever our fucking heads so I can put my fucking head on someone else's fucking body. The world, if they made that affordable, watch how many decapitation surgeries there's going to happen. And you know what? It's already happening. And then a week or two later, after I saw the video on Instagram where they're working on technology where they cut them from here and they're showing you with AI how the robots are literally, and it's more for like, the body's about to die, but the mind's okay. It's like the whole Elon giddy up thing. Like let's put chips in our head because it's gonna listen. If that chip can really make a paraplegic become a fucking UFC fighter, then great. But
No,
you know
but
the chip.
it'll go down, it'll accelerate down a ridiculous track where then it becomes an exploitative track. And
Like everything else in our culture, just like this whole trans thing, the culture of today made being trans the new fucking happy meal. And I ain't happy about it because I'm an old world. I come from all the old world transsexuals that never fought to dominate women's spaces. They were all men that knew they were men, but they were beautiful men. And they loved the fact that men can be beautiful too, and ba ba ba, and la 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 la. But all these girls, they knew they're transsexuals, and proudly wore the transsexual stamp. Yeah, I'm not boy, I'm not girl. I'm something else is going on in my soul, which we're talking about that great awakening where yes, there's the energy, in lack of better terms, the energy of the gods, they all come through us. And that's what creativity and that's what life and death is all about. The gods, they create us, and then the body gets destroyed, and our energy or our soul or whatever is this thing that we're communicating with goes into a different earth plane or a newer dimension or a higher dimension or a lower dimension with a new body, with a different, and maybe who knows what's going on. This is what I'm all about. I'm all about this constant influx of what the fuck is really going on, man.
Yeah, well, it's
And
like the cover of the it's like the cover of the Jimi Hendrix album, Axis Bold as Love. You mentioned the Godhead. It's like that, right? It's
yeah.
like all of that. You know, there is in a sense, there's something that occurred to me recently, and it came to me like a laser. And I say it over and over to myself. There is nothing that is not all of us. In other words, we are all anything you see out there, a person doing, or even these beings that, whatever they are, there's an aspect of that that's in all of us. And so in a sense, we're all of it.
Hmm.
And
Agreed.
I think that this duking it out over this issue is some kind of coming to terms with the fact that our consciousness has this amazing capacity to make things come to fruition, but also to maybe reel it back in and say, wait, what is really going to give me peace here? Do I need to go all the way down that track? Do I need to put an elephant's brain into my body just because I can, just because it's something we like to tinker with
Right.
things? Or can I just be still where I am? And I wonder if that's what you've come to, because one of the things I noticed while I was watching different interview clips over the years
Who
is,
with me?
yeah, is you are actually much more in your masculine now, and maybe it took Mina
Yeah,
to get you there
it did.
because
It took
because
it took me, it took that feminine energy needed to, I did like a living suicide, or the female energy, or what we called Mina, killed Keith, killed that past so Mina could be born, so that energy could dance and play throughout my immediate physical environment, or soulful, or what cosmic, or however it, whatever happens during our sleep, or you know maybe there's 100 million different timelines of Keith and Mina or whatever, but I needed to exercise that demon in order for me to learn more about my energetic process, which, yes, ultimately led me to the realization of like, yo, all these hormones that you're doing, it was really the hormones that were really, it was really everything came to a head when I leveled up, and when I leveled up to become a better, even more of a better version of myself, and really realized like, yo, we lived through this, and now we're starting to really feel this way again. And I was very imbalanced as that young man Keith. I came from a very imbalanced upbringing, lots of
With your
abuse,
grandparents,
lots of,
Italian,
yeah, drug,
machismo.
a lot of drug. My dad was a drug addict. Look at how I could put it all into sense now. Look, my mother died at 20. Does it surprise you that as a child, and first of all the male men, they were all abusers in my family. And then I grew up with my grandma, my Joey's mom, my aunt, and I observed as a kid. I said, don't want to be like this class of characters. I found more peace, compassion,
Nurturing.
nurture, and balance behaving the way the women behave. So the fact that I never had a mom, I never, I I labeled my trauma as being like womb trauma because I was one of those dirty diaper playpen babies that were neglected. God knows the nurturing I didn't get as a kid. So I created all of these things inside of me to help me survive. I never knew my mom. Of course, I got this female energy and I think maybe my mother's ghost was in me. I have so many theories, babe. It's like it's endless. I have endless roads to describe potentially why I danced with my own feminine the way I did and when I did. And then this energy literally outgrew itself because then, not being on hormones all those years, my natural male self started to appear again. And I felt more and more balanced every day. And then here we are 6, 7 years later. And I'm like, you know what? I can't even. Plus, I do a lot of plant medicine. I I'm a big mycologist.
Mm.
I've been studying ethnobotany for years. I grew up listening to people like Terence McKenna. I've done an incredible amount of microdosing and heroic doses in my life. And I've done peyote ceremonies. I've done mescaline ceremonies with all the right people. I've done stuff on reservations because my friend plays for reservations. I've done fucking magic mushroom, like real deal soul. And I truly believe that all this medicinal and soulful work that I've done throughout the years as well has gotten me and my soul to the point like I've saved my own soul. I saved my own body from further trauma. That's the way I look at it now because I could have I hit a road, I hit a crossroads. My fluidity was even at a crossroads where I was like, okay, you have two choices now. You can go the balanced route and completely get up, take the tits out, completely, you're off of hormones now, the worst is over. Now it's just your body, you're a hybrid right now. Or I could go this way and I can find plastic surgeons and I could chase the knife for the rest of my life. But this side, that's not empowerment to me. Chasing the knife, changing your face up, keeping up with the Joneses and the appearances. I'm not that type of soul. I never was. Even when I was knee deep in the transsexual beat, I never even wore lipstick. I hated makeup. I was never really one of those. I never went shopping. I wasn't all about shoes and bags. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still the same person. I paint every day. I'm writing music. I make music for indie films, for commercials. I'm painting now since COVID. I become this fucking my house turned into a fucking painter's vault. I'm like, I'm frantically working like Van Gogh. Like I've always been this creative entity, and that's why I did what I did to myself as well. I got creative with myself. And thank God I can play. I can energetically dance with myself. I'm a dangerous human being. I took risk. I did the type of person that I am. I did everything in my life, babe, that I was afraid to do, and
Mm.
I went after it. Everything I feared, I pummeled into. I was afraid to go out as a man to all these clubs when I was 18 and 19, when I was first going out, and like that, it was that. And then, I just did everything that gave me fear to help my soul grow. And part of my soul's journey and growth, and I definitely have probably chosen it, was to dance in and to understand my energy, my frequency, how I'm vibrating. I vibrate with love. I'm unconditional love. I honestly don't have a single bone of hate in my body. I'm not racist. I'm not transphobic. I'm not anything that they're trying to paint me the way they've painted me. Hence why we even do, because I remember you first reached out to me to like give me the another chance to speak my story, because every other woke publication is selling my story like clickbait. Like when I first came out 20 years ago, in the Netherlands, I was front page to the equivalent of the Daily News. They already said I got bottom surgery. They already started putting out all these lies about me when I was like, I didn't even start hormone therapy. Really? I got bottom surgery. I have these people, they tell my story before all these people spoke about me before they even give me the opportunity to just have a normal conversation with somebody like, yo, like, and they paint me in this way. I cured my agenda. So I don't know if I'm cured 100% completely. I still feel nuances of like, there's that part of my soul that if also had a woman's spacesuit, I'd be wearing her too. I don't know, whatever that
Right.
is, that's it.
You
Like,
you feel
however,
oh,
I can. The only thing that's really changed is the way I navigate my own torment and my pain and my suffering and what I don't unknowingly know about myself, and where these kinds of desires come from. And there is no life manual. It's pretty fucking tricky. And the deeper you go, it's endless. It's a bottomless pit of wisdom. And I think I'll probably fucking die in this body, not really ever truly knowing, unless everything is incredibly, everything's exposed on a megalithic level. And, because, in the Vatican, the reason why I keep bringing the Vatican up is because I've done so many rabbit hole deep dives on the Vatican. And one of the interesting things, and stupid and like predictable reasons, they have 51 miles or kilometers of biblical texts, of tablatures, the origins of our species, that isn't, even if you were a pope at the Vatican, you weren't allowed into these under
archives or
yeah, like
yeah.
you have to wait years. You have to be you have to be navigated with someone in the higher ups to even get into. You have to know exactly what you want to look at in the Vatican. You can't just say, "Hey, want to look at 50? I want to find out what we are, what the soul is." You have to like literally. They need to know why, what, and no one just gets in. Not even the Pope, that he can't even get in. You
So
know.
it's like that vault in Harry Potter, then that you have to go to the, I don't know how familiar you are with Harry Potter, but there's like a vault that's run by goblins and it's like super complicated and you have to anyway. Um
Yeah, kind of like that. Maybe that's where the idea came
Came
from.
from maybe. So it sounds like you're at a point where you're more inclined to, rather than chase the knife, as you say, find a way to be accepting. Like you can be, your identity can cross these barriers that we have imposed or that but that you are saying, no, well, in this human form, this is what I am, and I may go like this in my consciousness, but you don't need to do it in your body.
No,
Is where you're at now. You mentioned how the press in the Netherlands, 20 years ago, the same thing could happen now, or I sense is happening now, where the right wing types of outlets that are really gung ho against any of this kind of exploration now may co opt your story, much in the same way that the woke press did before. What is your reaction or your feeling on that?
you know, I can't control how other people are gonna pursue how to tell my story. So I don't care either way. I don't need external validation from the world. So whether someone's walking around thinking I'm this, so be it. Whether someone's walking around thinking I said that, so be it. Or when I said this and they think I meant that when I really meant that, so be it. Listen, I'm in the business 30 something years. I'm so used to motherfuckers not telling the truth about me.
Mm.
So I don't really give a fuck who says what. And the only my story don't even fucking matter. I don't even give a fuck about my story. The only aspect of my story that I care about are two fucking words. Three. Go fucking
Fucking slow.
slow. Go slow. You know nothing. The doctors, I will debate with any doctor, any therapist, I'll debate with any surgeon, I'll debate with any pediatrician, I'll kindly debate with any endocrinologist, and I'll fucking tell them why they're so just horrifically doing such a disservice to the entire LGBT community, which they did, because now it's a fucking ugly cult. It's not even the same fucking, it's not even, it's not even the same thing. It has been so weaponized. And, my message is to go slow, take heed, you know. Parents need to like I said before, it brings us back to the same cultural problem. We live in a time where everyone wants everything yesterday, and no one's really willing to put any kind of work into anything. That's it. Look at the same thing with labels. All they do is look at your social medias and how many likes and followers you have. They're not looking at your music. They're not looking at this or that. And that's how you get record deals these days, by having 500,000 followers. But the same person comes to Brooklyn and can't even sell out the fucking knitting factory. It's the same kind of like diluted. I'm not sure where common sense went anymore. I really, and everyone's in it. Here's someone that actually lived through it, that I can actually drop mad truths about my experience. I've lived on hormones. You got people out there that don't want to book me on festivals claiming that I'm transphobic, that never even met a fucking trans person before in their life before they booked my fucking band 20 years ago.
Well, and here's the thing. Detransitioners are also trans voices who need to be listened to. Why are we not creating a platform to hear them?
Exactly. Why doesn't legacy media tell the stories of the detransitioners? Guess what? The detransitioners, they're the most important part of the trans story. And no one will admit to that, because that blows the cover of everyone's lies. There's a lot of people just lying to themselves. That's it.
Yeah, or at the very least, you should know. So you were talking about kids, and I understand. I have a 7-year old, and you can bet that I'm very vigilant about how making sure this doesn't seep through in the influential way that it's
A boy
steering
or girl.
girl girl. So very much uh on
And note
guard.
and notice is another important thing. Again, with the women, with the biological women, most of these people, they're going after male. They're going after female to male. Most of these surgeries are done to female to male. They're destroying their uteruses, they're destroying their tits, they're destroying their ovaries. They're doing surgeries for complications that didn't even arise yet.
Yeah,
That's care. That's
it's a
care.
yeah, it's a very
You're fucking dumb.
it's a strange, it's like it's like a desire to become something but destroy it enough only that it's no longer the real thing is no longer left. Like it's a slow burn war on
On
the
women's
beingness of women.
bodies.
Well, just the beingness of the being woman, right?
Yeah.
And I find that profoundly disturbed. And so yes, I'm very vigilant about this. But what I was going to say was even adults deserve informed consent. They need to be told, hey, X number of people, they have buyer's remorse when they do this. So you got to know if you're going to go down this path, there's certain things. Once you're past a certain exit on the highway, you can't turn around, right? You're down
Yep.
that track and
Yep.
you have to know what that's going to feel like. I think
Yeah.
even if you're 70 years old, you deserve
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And you see someone like me, I figured that out for myself. They don't want
So,
people like me. And now they don't want people like me blowing the spots because I'm a very laid and complex person. I'm very articulate. I'm very deep. I'm not your average Joe Schmo fucking livestock headless fucking moron just running into walls, man. You know, I know what I'm talking about. I've read my whole life. I've read about human behavior my whole life.
yeah, I was going to ask you, what was school like for you as a kid?
I hated it. I cut out most of the time. And I was so smart that I was, I read, I never read the books they told me to read, but I always read the books I always wanted to read when I was a kid, which allowed me to read the stupid fucking books they wanted me to read like that, take a test. I never went to, my teachers used to be like, if you weren't so cute, I would fail you, but you keep passing all these tests. And I would always cut out. I was already when I was trying to I wanted to go watch MTV 120 minutes in the day, so I would cut out to school to watch what new artists and videos. I grew up playing classical piano, so before my grandfather got home, who had fucking hand trouble and didn't want me to play Beethoven, he tried to close the piano thing on my hands as a kid all the time. He's done it several times to me. I used to cut my last two classes so I could come home and practice before he got home from work. And I had that worked out with my grandmother. Pete, hurry up, Grandpa's in the driveway. Hurry up, get out of here. So she knew how much I loved music as long as I learned the songs that she wanted me to play. And she was like, you better pass. And I went to 2 years of college, which was I went to New York Technical School in by J Street because I wanted to go to Juilliard, but my grandfather literally crushed those dreams, and they wanted me to go to New York Technical to learn a trade, to do plumbing or air conditioning. So he had me in that, and and at the same time, I was recording River Runs Red, and I was just like, "What are we doing here?" Are we gonna chase our dreams and go finish the album? Or are we gonna sit in a fucking physics class that you want to throw up next to the person? And I left school unofficially. I never signed out officially. I just left. And I never got back. And I never sorry, my dogs. You all
It's
right?
okay.
You okay? Come on, drink some water, you. Go on, drink some water and help yourself a little bit. She won't drink unless I bring her water.
Mm.
So,
So,
anyway, go ahead.
I mean, I'll let you go soon. But the one of the appeals of Life of Agony is that real gnashing, driving. I know you guys are friends with Biohazard, like that kind of groove, like very, very forceful, pummeling kind of groove. Then crossing with this real introspective, uh, pensive, open, sensitive vocal. And I mean, that's the contrast, right? That's that's
Yeah.
that's one of the things that is defines that band. You're saying you were like really attracted to these kinds of things, to these ideas your whole life, even going back to childhood. What was that like in your, I mean, I know Alan is a very introspective like artist. I interviewed Alan in like 2019 or something like that, and he talked to me about he was really introverted. He said he would try to stay away from people on tour, like sleeping where the merch was because there's like 30 people on a bus,
Yeah, it's true.
and he liked to draw and he didn't like to drink at the time. So
Yeah.
so he's just like, you
Yeah,
know,
we were all drinking and drugging, and I was never with alcohol. I was always into the drugs. But Alan was the only sober one for many, 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 many years. And while everyone played the cliche rock star part, um, it was me and Alan that ran away to the hotels often just to go read, and because me and Alan were the big readers, and Alan actually, Alan turned me into the nonconformist that I am today. Alan used to be big on the JFK conspiracy theories and all that stuff, and we used to dissect all that kind of shit. We still talk about the moon landing, if there was one. We talk about everything. We all have different political views, but at the end of each conversation, we're all laughing because at the end of the day, we really don't know what to subscribe to. And we're definitely not going to fight each other over stuff because they know I don't subscribe to the Globe programming
okay.
and all this. I don't know what to believe, but
But you're saying
I certainly don't believe the narratives they sold us throughout our whole life because I do deep dives everywhere.
FYI, I myself am not a proponent of flat Earth and was about to say so. I was about to be like, well, I myself don't. I think he was explaining something about Antarctica, and I was about to just let him finish and then say, I don't. I personally am not a proponent of that idea, but dot 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 dot. And I have more to say on this aspect in my other video where I talk about my reactions to this discussion. I am wary of people dismissing what Caputo and others might have to say based on the fact that they subscribe to Flat Earth, but I'll get into that in the other video.
And part of who I am is I like to uncover all these mysterious things from the orbs and the drones and life beyond the Antarctica wall and what the Nazis did, and they already got fucking places beyond the Antarctica wall there, and why is there's no fly zones over Antarctica. And I don't know if you ever heard of Admiral Byrd and his diary. He was a guy in the 40s who flew over beyond where he wasn't supposed to and saw lush vegetation and a completely new world that America wasn't selling the public even back then. And then suddenly he was hush hushed. And
Mm,
I'm into all that kind of like mysterious kind of, because this whole thing is one big mystery. It's a great mystery if if you're the type of person that's able to, you know, to swim in the ocean rather than the puddle, you know, um, there's so many unanswered questions about everything, you
Sure,
know?
and even the idea that you know popular science and establishment science has
Yeah.
really mobilized for such a long time to just get people thinking that, oh, the idea of psychic phenomena is just so ridiculous, and we don't have the empirical proof, and yet the military, they've studied it for
All
decades.
you got to do is go on the CIA fucking CIA website, and they have they've all the classified uh Project Blue Beam, all this other shit. They're all unclassified, and what you're talking about, the telecommunicative skills that humans, some of us, innate powers that we have as humans that haven't been tapped into, but a lot of you see on the CIA website, telepathy, this bending material, it's all real
Right,
because
so they have their own brand of science that we haven't been exposed to,
all you
and
got
we
to do is go and fucking read it. The problem is people don't go do that. They're yelling at people like me that actually have the proof instead of doing their own research, their own deep, like, again, like everyone wants to be led. They want to be force fed the music to listen to. They want to be force fed the politic they should be or the religion they should be. They want to be force fed into thinking what drugs to put into their body, what foods to eat, you know, what
well, it's
hair.
easy. It's easier to be passive in a way. It's
Yeah,
it's it's more miserable. Some of us can't do that though. Will not allow ourselves to do that. But I am curious, for you being so reflective as a kid, what was that like in your neighborhood, in your family? I mean, you talked about your family and the men in your family and gravitating to the women, but um how difficult was that for you with other people your age and how that was received?
it's still, forget about even being, I know more now, but like it's even more difficult now. There's just a lot of things I won't say, even to people that I've lived with my whole life. I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna, because I don't even want to get into that conversation because I'm most likely will be conversating with someone that hasn't done any kind of research on a topic to begin with. So there's no point in. So a lot of the times, like, I do my own thing. I know for me, I'll make some comments like the guys, they've been making fun of me for years about the chemtrails in the sky.
The guys, meaning you mean Joey and Alan?
Not necessarily just them, but uh-oh, here come Mina, because the first thing I'm noticing is a fucking chemtrail right over us, and I'm the person to immediately start fucking saying something about it. And whether they believe it or not is a different story. But like it's all proven to be true. Again, all you got to do is go to fucking government websites. You can get a job in geoengineering and you can get a job in cloud seeding. But chemtrails aren't real, right? Tennessee banned chemtrails, but they're not real, right? So you got this herd like dumb fuck mentality still everywhere where people aren't privy and don't want to be privy to new information. People are still stuck in 2020. They got the vax, but they're still doing this with and they're touching doorknobs with this, but you just put poison into your body, my friend.
What was your stance on that when they rolled those shots out?
Never will fucking get that. Never. Too soon. Failed animal trials. I don't believe in Fauci. He killed all the gays in the 80s with his other. He's got a list of medicines. Also, too, all the things I've been Fauci admitted 72 vaccines that are on the list, they don't actually work. I've done deep dives over the years about what's inside vaccines. Do you know that in Japan they have snake farms, and they have these snake farms because one of the main ingredients in all vaccines are an egg yolk. And could be the egg yolk, could be the whites of the egg. I'm not really sure about that, but they literally have snake farms all in Asia to basically provide for all the vaccine companies, because that's the first. So you don't know what kind of poisonous egg you're getting, but this is what they do. Like, I know so much useless information like that, but it's like, I know there's embryo in there. I know there's a million fucking. Listen, the flu vaccine got me very, very sick when my grandparents took me for my first vaccine. I was covered in measles and mumps and
Mm.
rashes. I couldn't move my body. That was the first and last time I'll ever put anything into my body. Hormones, the fact that I'm really a naturalist. Most of my diet is raw veggies and fruits and seeds and nuts. I'm like a hunter and gatherer. I don't really diet the way most Americans do. Of course, once in a while I cheat, but I'm a naturalist, and I'm not vegan, but I'm eating raw cucumber, radishes. I'm like fennel, and apples, and I had a banana, I had some fennel. Oh, that wound up being my dinner. I'm not like. So what was my point? I just.
About the snake farms and about hormones. It was
Oh yeah,
you're saying
I went completely against my own nature to fill up my body with hormones. And I knew there was a timeline on that, because I already knew, like, right away, like, I already felt like all the disempowering disadvantages I was already experiencing, because I have a very sensitive body. I've been doing yoga 30 plus years, and I felt that very hard. I still have pains in my bones. I don't know if I have osteoporosis, but my bones are in pain a lot, and I know that's a direct result from hormone therapy. And every time I shot hormones, a day later, my body would break out in rashes, and I know it's from that first thing that they gave me years and years and years ago. Because I get the hives very
mm,
easily. Like, if I stress out, I break out in hives. Like, I'll get rashes. Like, and I know that thing destroyed that part of me.
mm. Well, why did it take you this long to say anything? Like, why didn't Mina talk more when you were living as Mina about hormones, especially since you got off them 6 years ago?
Mhm.
Why is it taken till now?
I was afraid.
Afraid of what?
Here's two things. I was afraid because I was a little bit like everyone else. I didn't want to say too much, but I knew I was doing the community a great disservice. Um,
By not saying something, you were doing a community a disservice? Like, how were you doing a disservice?
um, I felt like I needed more information and more time on my own clock to be really sure about all the things that I wasn't really ready to share due to fear. And also, too, a big part of my personality, I'm a lone wolf. I'm an isolator. Um, I'm not really that type of person that lives online and shares every fucking aspect of their life with every person online. Like, if you do go to my social medias, I very rarely post a selfie. I'm not. I'm very, I hit the bullseye with shit, but I don't, I've learned to, the less I say, the better, until people really started pushing me and trying to control my narrative. And that's what started happening. I had a lot of people around me, mostly colleagues and in the business, that were trying to censor me and, 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 and take bread and wine and money off of my table to keep me quiet. But then I just reached a point where I just couldn't keep quiet anymore. And I felt like I was doing humanity a disservice. And even though I'm not a tribal person, other trans people, the trans community or the LGBT community, which I'm not, I'm not conservative, I'm not Republican, I'm not a Democratic. I'm not any of the, I don't need a political pin. I don't need the LGBTQ plus a million fucking rubberhead pin to get through my life. I'm me, I'm my own soul. I carve my own niche. I'm like the lone wolf. I'm deep in the woods. I'm not a part of any pack. So I didn't feel any kind of obligation. And, but up until I just felt like I really needed, until I really felt ready. And that's why I felt the reason why there's been an uptick in my loud mouth, in my big mouth on all things, is because I'm completely fed up now. I'm fed up with I'm fed up with politicians. I'm fed up with the systems that are designed to keep us sick and divided. I'm just fed up. I'm fed up with how these people have mismanaged. Like, I'm alive 51 years, 40 years. I've watched politicians just mismanage this globe or whatever the fuck we're on up until this point. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And now I'm at a point in my life where I don't give a fuck who likes me, who doesn't. I don't care if you want to work with me or not. Um, I don't, I'm at a point in my life where I don't need external validation from people, friends or family. I'm on a new level. I'm operating on a new level of I got a new power. I got a new life. I got new life in me. I've been spared by the Holy Spirit, man. I don't know how else to explain it, but there's a fearlessness within me now that rages because there's such imbalance out there. The least I can do is at least speak to my people and create some kind of balance that I think is the definition of balance, and not some schmuck, not some fucking white gay dude that never took a hormone in his life is going to reprimand me about trans kids and medicine. like like at
Sure.
first, you know what I mean?
No,
Like a few years ago, I was a little bit more afraid of you know, getting involved, or becoming one of the canceled, or having kids show up at, because we've had a girl show up in Vegas. She wanted to shoot up the club. She wanted to shoot the band up. She wanted to shoot the fans up. You could look it up. We have sick people too following us. So, like, I would get a lot of, not heat from the band, but I know it was bothering some people, so I'd quiet up a little bit. But now I'm at a point where I don't expect me to keep silent about anything that I resonate with. If you don't like what I say, it's none of your fucking business, motherfucker. Get off my page, unfollow me, block me, do whatever you got to do to me to get me out of your. Because I don't care about, if you're offended by what I say, you need to work on that, not me.
right, but specifically in the band though, where does that leave them right now? And how are they? I mean, clearly they're rolling with this.
Yeah. They defend me because we've just recently, we wanted to book some festivals for 2026 already. And we got pushed back by this one guy who owns a couple of festivals, claiming that I'm transphobic.
Sure.
Some 60-year-old fucking European person, I won't tell you what country, um, making all these claims to my agent, my agency, because of that 10-minute, 13-minute video I released.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly I'm anti-trans because I want kids to be safe. And everyone that saw that video of mine was like, yo. So I have actually now, at first I had a lot of suckers and jellybacks that couldn't really stand up for themselves, but now people are really seeing, like, even with my agent, was like, if if literally laughed at these people at the festival saying, like, if there's anyone in the world that can clarify what's going on with all these trans issues, it's fucking Mina. Tell me what part of this video you saw Mina talking. Tell me what part of transphobic she is. No one could say nothing, my friend.
This is your agent sticking up for you.
Sticking up for me, going against the promoters
Sure.
that are trying to defame my name, trying to disfranchise my name, talking about me throughout all the business and the promoters and that I'm transphobic and I'm this. But meanwhile, my agent, tell me what part of transphobic this message is. So Mina just telling about her story, and tell me where's the transphobia? And no one could give a definitive answer. And it's like this down the line.
Sure.
It's these
Well,
fucking
it's not coming from a rational place.
no, exactly. Thank you.
So I mean, reasoning with that is not will get you trying to reason. So there's that phrase: you don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't because
Exactly.
they're not in it for negotiation, and people who do that are not in it to hear.
Right.
They're in it to
So I got a lot of fucking idiots like that think suddenly they know everything about everything that there needs to know about trans issues. But meanwhile, you're some 60-year-old fucking, like, don't even get me started with the
well,
categorizations because it's just like it's ridiculous where all this stuff comes from, and no one can really say anything because it's not true. It's not true.
but you being who you are, period, now does put Alan and the rest of the band in a tough spot. But they're accustomed to this at this point. It sounds like because I mean I've watched older interviews where you were doing a lot of the talking, and I would imagine they long ago realized, well, this just comes with the territory with
Yeah.
being in a band with
a
Keith.
real a real fucking singer with a real human being. Yes, with a real Morrison, a real fucking renegade, a real fucking soul spirit dancer, man, that refuses to be caged by anyone or anything. They laugh with me. They laugh. They know it's stupid. They know
Hmm.
it's ridiculous. So you know, they want me to be careful, of course. They want safety more than anything because we know we're living in a sick world, but you know, Alan, Joey, they're like, we would never, we have the Life of Agony page. It's the music page. There's nothing political. Mina has her own page, her own things. She could say whatever she wants. She has her own voice. Like, everyone knows it's none of your business. You can't not give me a festival because you're offended by something you don't even understand.
So
Later,
where so where are your relationships now with people like Laura Jane Grace? You mentioned Laverne Cox, which when you were
yeah, I'm angry at those fucking frauds.
okay,
I don't
because
like any of them because they're they're part of the problem to me. They're part of the narrative that's full of deceit and a politicized end game. Laura Jane Grace has a daughter. If I had a daughter, I would be fighting tooth and nail for the sovereign rights of my daughter's autonomy. It's none of my business what he does. Okay? But you're a fucking punk rocker? You're a rebel? You don't do shit. You don't stand up to no one or nothing. This is like these people are like literally blinded by, and I hate to even put left and right, but it's true. They are literally, they are the bowels of the left.
That's one of the most remarkable things about this because
Because
for
if and you know what's another funny thing, Sabe, is that all the people like Laverne, like Laura, all these people that want to see children on hormones, they were never on hormones as children.
mm,
Isn't that ironic?
mm,
So you have someone like I toured with Laura Jane, right? I toured her. I did an acoustic tour. I toured with her when she was on, she wasn't even on her first year of hormone therapy. And she was on and she was off. And she was on and she was off. And she was cowered in the corner of her fucking dressing room. And she was having bad mental, psychotic days. She told me she couldn't handle the hormones. She doesn't know how she's going to get through this. And I'm like, Laura, you can't go on and off and on. And you got to be on and stay on. The first year is the most important year if you want to see physical changes because what hormones do, all hormones do is distribute fat in the bloodstream in all the desirable areas. So you as a man, you would go on estrogen. The fat, what the hormone does to the endocrine system is that it distributes fat in basically in the bloodstream. The fat's distributed through the bloodstream and but in all the desirable areas. So as a man, I would go on estrogen so I can grow tits. The fat grows here, the fat grows in the ass, the fat grows in the hips. And when you're a woman on testosterone, as men, fat comes to the belly, fat goes to the back, it goes to the neck, but mostly in the belly. We grow hair. This is what testosterone does, and that's why women want to go on testosterone, men want to go on estrogen. So their bodies can become more and more feminized. When you're a young kid, that feminization or that masculinization can be more severe because the body hasn't grown, it hasn't gone through puberty, and that's why and and that's why it's a very dangerous game before puberty because the brain doesn't develop until 25. Your endocrine system, your thyroid system, your nervous system, these people, they're so stupid they don't take into account, they've weaponized and politicized this whole trans thing, and that's how they're running around. They're not looking at it as a real human dude. These
well,
are
they're not being deductive. They're not using their powers of deduction, which is something that, for you, you've been engaged in the whole time. And
so that's why I have no respect for these kinds of
right,
people
but
because behind closed doors, this motherfucker couldn't even get through year one. But you're selling it to the children?
so when did that change for you? Because you were speaking highly of Laverne Cox in the in 2017, for example, as someone that you supported when you were living as Mina. When did that change?
Are you sure that was
Yeah, I did see
2017?
it was in the Loudwire interview. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was before I heard her make a political speech on why children should be on hormones, and I thought it made zero sense, a lot of fucking hot air, and I lost complete respect for her because no child should experience medicinal and surgical manipulation at that young of an age because I'm more for that child. I stand up for the child growing up as an adult to make normal adult decisions for him or herself as a human, as a fully developed human being. Personally, I would never want to take that right away from a child. And when I see adults wanting to take, not thinking about this kid's going to grow up, you idiot. You realize that, right? That you could be making a decision for this kid when this kid's 10 years later, because it's happening all the time and no one
Mm,
talks about it. The
right,
detransition is.
right.
If I would have a lot more respect for Laverne, someone like Laverne, if she said, "Hey, everybody, hey, world, listen to me, okay? Whatever, before parents, children, before you think you want to get into this whole transitioning thing, watch as many detransitioning stories as you possibly can, because that's the real story. Because you may not be the trans person you think you are. Because guess what? All throughout life, we change. Nothing stays stagnant. Our mind, our bodies, our everything, our endocrine system, our neurological, everything is constantly in a flux of change. And the fact that you would cage a child before this child becomes a fucking clear thinking adult tells me everything I need to know about you. You're just a dumb fucking human. So when I see doctors that took an oath that are actually taking this right away from young children and young kids, you're a piece of shit in my book. You deserve to get your license taken. If I was ahead of everyone and everything, I'd go after everyone. And everyone that's operated on a child, I'd fucking go. They If they weren't thrown in jail, they'd get their license taken away and they'd never be able to practice medicine or surgery ever again in their life. Think about a new fucking career, because your career is done. And I would end everyone's fucking career, because what's going on, to me, it's sinister, it's heartless, it's thoughtless. There's no there's no there's no strategical thinking. There's no operation up here. How could you, as a doctor, look at this 13-year-old kid that wants to be a boy? How could you fucking put them through that ringer instead of just saying, listen, if I was a doctor, if I was a gender therapist or a surgeon, or or if I worked at a
Clinic.
endocrinolog endo an endocrinologist clinic that provides hormone therapy, and these parents were coming in with 10-year-old kids, 13-year-old kids, I'd say, listen, parents, this is what we're going to do. You're going to let your kid play. You don't have to vehemently affirm things like you would do. Let them play. Let them experiment. If they want that doll, get them that doll. I'm going to turn you on to a therapist that I want the family to see and the child to see for the next 5 years of your child's life before she's 18. All of you, the three, you're going to go to therapy. You're going to go to therapy separately. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty of it all. And I guarantee you, you put these people through this process, this kid, look at, and that's what I mean. I can't even begin that story I told you about the manager who manages this huge band that we played with. When that manager came up to me, that's not the only story. I get at least one or two people per month saying, thank you for being so outspoken. I taught my child your way, ba ba ba. Now my boy is a regular boy. He doesn't even play with dresses or his sister's makeup, doesn't even want to wear mom's shoes. Like, thank you for giving me the ability to be patient, to be constructive with my decision making, with my child's path. These people,
So
and
what
this
were
is
you
what I'm,
saying? What were you saying before as Mina? Because kids were coming to you as Mina throughout as well. And what would you have said to them then? Because what I'm trying to get at is when did your view, when did this all click for you? Because you've been speaking about this recently and very outspokenly, but when did it finally reach that point where that you're talking about now, where you're like, okay, I do not abide by this. Where,
It reached that point 6, 7 years ago when I stopped being on hormone therapy because all the damage that was being done to me psychologically and physically. I wasn't ready to share with the world. I was going
okay,
through my own problems. I was
okay,
trying to navigate my own instabilities, to be honest. Like the last thing I thought of was getting online and being like everyone else and telling my stories, and maybe I should have, but oh, and you know what also really catapulted this thing? Just recently, in the past few years, I've been getting a lot of hate, a lot of pushback, and a lot of people saying, like, you're so against the COVID vaccine and you're so against this. But meanwhile, you're on hormone therapy. So it got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I got to let people know what's fucking going on because I am saying this and that. And people don't even know that I haven't even been on hormone therapy for 6, 7 years already. So
okay,
it was like the people who were pushing back on me actually were the catalyst for me to say, you know what? It's time to shut everyone the fuck up now.
okay. So when you were living as Mina, though, and people were writing to you, kids, for seeking counsel, guidance,
Yeah.
what were you saying to them then?
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know what it is, but I
Yeah.
want to hear it from the
Grow up first.
okay, slow the
Grow
fuck
up
down.
first. Yeah. Grow
Okay.
up first. Slow down. Experiment however you want. I said, you have to understand, I lived as a male until I was 33, 34. Then I went on hormone therapy. Then I met with one of my transsexual buddies, male to female. You probably know it, but I don't want to say the name. I met with her. I told her about everything I've been going through. She says, here's a therapist. You're going to have to see her for 2 years. And I remember I wanted this now.
Mm-hmm.
Now I wanted it. But I did everything the right way. I listened to my friends. I saw the therapist for 2 years, babe, maybe almost three, before she said, you know what? I'm going to I'm going to turn this doctor on to you who's going to make you live as a woman for 2 years before any hormone therapy is administered. This is what they used to do. You
Right.
have to live as a woman before any hormone therapy. But the doctor already knew that I was going out as a girl at 16, 17 years old, and I already lived my life in all the clubs and all the sex parties and all the things. So she was like, I'm going to give you this doctor, and I'm going to give you Dr. Bartalos, who will start you on hormone therapy probably immediately if he thinks if you're actually physically fit for it. And I went to Bartalos and I went on and my therapy and then I had to navigate which hormone would work with my body
Mm.
the most kindly because and I went through 4, 5, 6 different estrogen brands before I found something that worked for me. So it was like because so like what we get it what the doctor then you go see the doctor, which leads me to this. I got to give this to you because
Please.
this is proof that no one's going to want to know. So when I go to say, okay, Dr. Bartolo, so you know, so let's talk about, I'm your doctor. Okay, Sabrina, let's talk about how we're going to go on hormone therapy. Do you want to go muscularly? You shoot it muscularly in the ass or in the leg every 2 weeks. And here are the side effects for that. Do you want to go on the patch? and here are the side effects for that, which is the least side effects. Or do you want to go orally? You can take hormones as pills if you don't want to do needles. However, orally with the pills is the most dangerous because orally can affect the kidney and the liver almost immediately and directly. And in just a couple of years, you could have fucking kidney failure if your body doesn't coagulate and agree with this endocrine disruptor, because that's what it is. It disrupts your endocrine system, basically. And so I said, well, fuck oral because I want to experience as less side effects as possible. So let's do the patch because my parents were junkies. I don't want to do that. So I wound up going on the patch. It was a terrible experience for me. The patch kept falling off. I didn't feel anything. I wasn't seeing changes quick enough. This is what you go through. So we started doing it intramuscularly. And I would see my endocrinologist every 2 weeks, and he would shoot me in the ass until I learned how to give it to myself. And I wound up, you alternate the right or the left leg every 2 weeks. So I was on progesterone, and then I was shooting estradiol in my leg every 2 weeks. Dude, the side effects, the trouble, the suicidal thoughts. I was worse. In a year, I already knew, like, wow, this is fucking hard, man. This is like, I don't even know how I'm going to get through this. I did. Lo and behold, 15 years later, I was like, still saying to myself, dude, what are you doing to your body? All for what? So let me just
What year did you start? I do want to hear that part, but what year did you start the hormones?
I believe here I got it right here. This was the consent form, 2013.
Mm.
I came out to my therapist in 2008. 5 years later, I wound up getting to go on hormone therapy. Okay.
But this was also an issue in 97 as well. That because I'm trying to piece together the timeline. There was some aspect of this was coming into play when you left the band the first time.
Yeah. I was already suffering in my mind and in my heart and in my soul already wanted to I just wish I could walk out the door looking like a beautiful, like one of my beautiful transsexual friends that had already 25 years. She was already out. I was hanging out with girls that already had bottom surgery,
Who told you not to get it? Who
who told
advised
me
you?
who told me to never even come out. You're gonna fucking destroy your life. 7 out of 10 of those girls had bottom surgery. They were pretty much all miserable. They had no sex life. All they did was spent their life dilating because it's an open wound.
Right,
If you
right.
don't dilate, it closes and it stinks. And they all told me. They all fucking told me. And they don't tell you these things as people.
In the
Even
clinic, in the,
adults,
in
yeah.
the clinic,
Even
you're
as
saying, yeah.
adults, they don't tell you shit like that. I gotta plug you in, babe. Otherwise, we're gonna die. I don't
All
want to
right,
lose
we're
you.
almost done, but yeah. Please do, please do.
So I'm just gonna do this. You could still hear me, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Hang on.
That's a nice apartment.
Oh, let me plug
Very
in here.
bright.
I'm sorry. Getting everybody dizzy.
That's okay.
Here we are. Okay. I don't want to lose you
Oh, no.
because I don't have I only
A
use my
stand,
computer for my
right?
for my music programs. My computer is from 2005. That's how old school I am.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. How come I can't really hear you that
You
loud?
can't hear me now? Oh, is it still set to your headphones?
I
It's
don't
because
know.
when you unplugged, the
There you go.
volume went
There you
down.
go. I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah. It defaulted to the last volume you were at when you were using your phone. without the headphones.
So when I got to my first, so this was from the Beth.
Beth
This
Israel. My mom has worked there before.
just so you
Not in that section, but yeah.
just so you know it's real, and this is total proof. Here's my signature of consent because everybody out there's like, this is fake. Everything I do is fake for people. So even the fake signatures. This is everything signed by me and the doctor. Um, so let me just fucking enlighten you, and maybe we can end it on this. But before I took hormone therapy, you have to specific informed consent for hormone therapy for women of transgender experience, initiation of care. Cross-gender hormone therapy is an important component of transition for some transgender patients, changing secondary sex characteristics to affirm a gender presentation, because that's all it is. It's a presentation. Doesn't mean you're biological anything. As a biological male, I'm presenting as a female, and hormones makes that easier. That
Right. I'm already noticing the difference in the language is completely 180-degree
oh,
different than what is now in the medical lexicon. But yes, please continue. But like I totally hear you. That's apparent. Like with every line you're reading, the paradigm of where that document is coming from versus what medical sanctioned medical either authorities or practitioners will say is totally different.
the medical narratives have been hijacked by the most corrupt these days. Back then, it was real treatment. Now, something else took over.
Well, that document would now be branded as transphobic.
I don't give a fuck.
No, no, I hear you, but I'm saying, but that's how far we've come. Is my
No.
point. That no, that's how far by the usual suspects who would invoke that
Exactly.
to shut that to shut what they the caution that they
Yeah,
were exercising and the care.
which I don't give a fuck about how people are pretending to use language because there's a war on language as well, and that's part of the big problem. We wouldn't be here in we the trans community wouldn't be here in the state that it is if the war on language wasn't being used, and it's being used in a very in a
Underhanded way.
yes, it's not in a helpful way. It's in a very politicized, shut your fucking mouth, hush, hush. It's like, no, these are the things we need to talk about. And this is why I know what the fuck I'm talking about. And also, too, in addition to what you just said, how the narrative, how the narrative language, how it's changed today, even the books written by people by PhDs who've been studying transsexualism, you got to see all the side effects, the uptick in risks, all everything before this COVID narrative took place. I take books out, I highlight everything to blow all these PhDs. They're talking about side effects and this and that. Oh, suddenly, oh, so pre-COVID side effects existed, but post-COVID and post all this bullshit language, suddenly side effects don't exist. Why? Because of the political arena and the but anyway, so the presentation that is consistent with gender identity to let me start over. Cross gender hormone therapy is an important component of transition for some transgender patients, changing secondary sex characteristics to affirm a gender presentation that is consistent with their gender identity. You know what that means. While there are risks associated with taking feminizing slash masculizing medications, when appropriately prescribed, they can greatly improve quality of life and psychological well being. The goal of this consent form is to review the potential risks. and benefits associated with the use of cross-gender hormone therapy. Now we're here, okay? We hear it at letter A. That was just like the title of the thing. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty. A, the full medical effects and safety of hormone therapy are not fully known,
Mm.
which they pretend that they are known. Potential adverse effects may include, but are not limited to, increased or decreased cholesterol and slash or fats in the blood, which may increase risk for heart attack, stroke, other embolic events, and pancreatitis. Um, Potential adverse effects may include increased levels of potassium in the blood, which may cause abnormal heart rhythms. Again, I'm reading you the adverse effects: increased risk of blood clots, deep venomous thrombosis, pulmonary embolism, breast tumor slash cancer, heart disease, arrhythmias, and stroke. I might be saying that wrong. Arrhythmias and stroke. The word is spelled Arrhythmias. So
Arrhythmias.
arrhythmias. Thank you for being
Yeah.
smart, fucking cool. You know what, dude? I love you. You're a really cool dude. At first, you were an annoying girl that I thought was just like, but then you turned out to be you, and you're a cool motherfucker.
Well, look at that. Little did I know that I had in your mind, you transed me in your mind. And back to me.
No, I'm done.
I was who I was. You turned me into Sabrina. And now I'm back.
I do that to people.
I mean, I'm honored. I've never been transed before.
Listen, Sabrina, let me finish.
Okay, just to cut in here, I'm not sure why I said transed at this point. The joke was, Keith, you transitioned me and then detransitioned me in your mind before you ever met me. And of course, he thought that was funny. But hearing the term trans, it's probably because I had said transitioned several times over throughout the course of the discussion. So I was trying to find a different way of saying it. But it sounds like somebody who's never come across transgender issues at all and is completely unaware of what the terminology is. And that's just not the case.
So, okay, increased risk of the following. Okay, we got to the breast tumor, cancer, heart disease, arrhythmias and stroke,
Arrhythmias, yeah, yeah.
arrhythmias and stroke, high blood pressure or low blood pressure, liver inflammation, liver toxicity, gallstones. Adverse effects may include pituitary tumors, tumor of small gland in the brain which makes prolactin. It can cause diabetes, a decreased number of red blood cells, anemia, acne if progesterone is used, which I was on progesterone, which I totally took myself off 6 months later because it made me want to jump out the window. I
Mm.
this girls take progesterone. The pill is progesterone is the pill, which every girl is off because it's fucking unhealthy. But there are no side effects, Sabrina.
What? So does it have suicidal ideation on there as a potential side effect?
We're gonna get to
Okay.
that.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Hang on, smarty pants. You're on the path, my man. You're on the fucking path, my man. Adverse effects may include decreased number of red blood cells, anemia, acne, increased or decreased sex drive and sexual functioning. My libido went out the window for years. I haven't had sex for years. It robbed me from any sensual, erotic inhibition. And I'm a very sensual person, very,
Mm.
very erotic, very, I love that. I love that whole world. And it literally robbed me from that whole thing. I don't even know how the transsexual girls do it in porn because I was just like, girl, like, Like I couldn't even like find my libido. But again, it affects people differently. Acne, increased or decreased sex drive and sexual functioning. This is what I experienced. This next one was a big one for me because I was already psychiatrically imbalanced because of, I believe, where I came from. I was a drug baby. Adverse effects may include psychiatric symptoms such as depression and suicidal feelings, which happened to me, anxiety, psychosis, disorganization, and loss of touch with reality, which happened to me. I
Mm.
stopped creating, I stopped songwriting. It literally, what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Dissociated, derealized. What does the word mean?
it castrated my psychological the creative in me. It
Mm.
not only does it castrate you down there because that's what the hormones are really for. The hormones are administered to men that want to be females to set them up for the SRS bottom surgery because it castrates you. One of the first things that grew back because after puberty, I did it after puberty, so certain things can come back. Um, Suicidal feelings, anxiety, psychosis, disorganization of loss of touch with reality, and worsening of pre existing psychiatric illnesses would happen to me. Impaired fertility, which happened to me. You know, the cum goes away. But because I did it after puberty, everything came back down there. So, like, it literally castrated the growth of that for me. But then after a few years of not being on it, my thing now is probably the size it should have been. You know what I
Mm.
mean? My
Mm.
size came back like, huh, wow, like where did you come from? And that was because the hormones suppress that, it castrates the physical. Okay, this is just A, bro. Now we're
Well,
on B. Some side effects from hormones are irreversible and can cause death. C.
shit.
The risks for some of the above adverse events may be increased by pre existing medical conditions, pre existing psychiatric conditions, cigarette smoking, alcohol use, and drug use. So, as a doctor, Sabrina, my advice to you is if you're a drinker, a smoker, a drug addict, you got to eliminate all of that out of it so the hormones can properly work in your body. Because if you do carry on with this and that, the mix with the hormones and your already pre existing conditions can absolutely, I can't begin to tell you how many trans people that I've known that have been administered the wrong amount of hormones or couldn't handle it, put a bullet in their head. Okay? I was just talking to a girl in Florida. Her best friend was a trans man. They found out the doctor was prescribing him the wrong amount of progesterone, too much than he should be getting. Put a bullet in his head. But there are no side effects. Let's get that straight. Okay, and this is why I'm now. Wait till I make my next video with this. I'm gonna do this unless you do little clips. We could do it together or whatever. But here, D, irreversible body changes, with the chances increasing the longer someone is on hormones. Like, for example, if we put your girl on testosterone before puberty, um,
Certain things can't be undone.
exactly, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Exactly. The longer they're on, that's why they want them because, and part of Big Pharma's plan, they make medical prisoners. Once they got you as a kid, you're fucked. You're fucked. And that's why they go after them. It's ABC dot connecting, man. And
I mean, I look, I don't it's just like spot the hustle. I mean, it's like this is
hang on,
doesn't
bro. Let me just
okay.
and spot the hustle. Keep that. I like that. Irreversible body. Okay. The longer-term resulting from hormone therapy may include, but are not limited to, the irreversible body changes, breast growth, decreased bone density, which I feel like I'm experiencing, fat redistribution, genital changes, which thank God everything came back normal, higher pitch of voice, and infertility. My signature below constitutes my acknowledgement of the following. My continuing medical group medical provider has discussed with me the nature and purpose of hormone therapy, the benefits and risks, including the risk that hormone therapy may not accomplish the desired objective, which after a few years, I realized it wasn't doing that for me. I really genuinely, say, went into this shit really trying to help myself, not to chase pretty my whole life, to really fix me up here. And it just got worse. Um, including the risk that hormone therapy may not accomplish the desired objective, the possible or likely consequences of hormone therapy, and all feasible alternative diagnostic or treatment options. I have read and understand that the above information regarding and accept the risks involved. Um, I my signature below refills my hormone therapy medications. I have reviewed and understand the possible effects, adverse and intended, that hormone therapy may have on me. I have had sufficient opportunity to discuss my condition and treatment with a medical provider, nursing staff, social work staff, and other continuum medical group staff, and all my questions have been answered to my satisfaction. I believe I have adequate knowledge to which to base an informal consent to provision of hormone therapy. Uh,
And informed consent, I think is what that says. Or formal consent.
yeah, and informed consent. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I can't see
That's
anymore.
okay.
I am aware of community resources for support around my transgender identity, like the LGBT place in Manhattan where you could go if you're homeless or whatever. And the last thing, I authorize and give my informed consent to the provision of hormone therapy. I had to sign my legal name and I dated it 12/26/2013. And I believe that's the day I started. Otherwise, they wouldn't have me sign this. And so I was well equipped from my doctor, Dr. Bartalos, who again has studied transsexualism for 55 years, Sabe. Not these jokers that come out of medical school and are dancing in front of the camera to go give your little girl testosterone that doesn't know fucking dick about what the fuck is going on because they're all post bullshit narrative. Or even all the books, I got like 60 transsexual books because I wanted to know what I was going through. I read for decades before one hormone went into my body, babe. I didn't just do this like everyone else seems to like just I think I'm a 6 year old girl. I'm a 55-year-old man, but I identify as a 6 year old girl. This is a problem, okay? This ain't real. This ain't normal. This is people that have allowed themselves to be programmed by very cheap programmers that don't give a fuck about your health, your anything, your sanity, your nothing, your children. And this is why I am the way I am, because all they want are medical prisoners.
And what I was saying about Spot the Hustle is, if anybody who grew up in New York, those three-card Monte tables, those scams, hustlers that will hustle you out of all your money. I don't know, man. Like a lot of this to me, I'm always shocked at how much people either can't or won't. I think it's that they won't see where they are being intentionally misled and hustled and how much they want to sort of preserve this naivete. My mom taught me at a young age, don't ever go to one of those three-card monte tables. And with the way the language has been reconstructed, that was the first thing that really made me uncomfortable. As soon as it started happening, right when this started to really bubble up in 2012, 2013, in like popular culture, like right when my editors,
I'm keep talking. I'm
yeah,
listening.
yeah, right when my editors started really pushing this idea, um, I just the way we were all expected to redefine our understanding of man and woman at a linguistic level immediately made me like, okay, I know this is a play. This is a play for shaping my view, for putting a new lens over everything. And I'm just really discouraged that people are so willing to submit to that. But there are always people who won't, who will just call that what it is and say, no, 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 you're changing language. We don't have to redefine things this way. And I'm struck by that document. I really appreciate you reading that because it shows how far we've come, how far off the cliff we've gone into this unreality.
Absolutely. And see here, just recently, I bought this book in. I bought this book in 2018.
Mm,
It's called The Gender Creative Child.
mm,
Dude, this was all written by PhDs pre-COVID narrative because that let's be real. This whole COVID pandemic, fucking this thing that they did to humanity allowed for so many wars, even the war on language to happen. And so this book was released 2018. I got it immediately because I was like, maybe I can find out why as when I was a child, maybe this will reveal to me some unknown parallels and corners of my mind where I can't really reach because I really, based on all my theories, I pretty much figured out why I even navigate towards the feminine more than the masculine. It's so constructed. I did this all to myself. And even what I that important one of the first things I found, dude, um one of the I can't really see right now, and I know we've been on for a very long time now, but even just simple little highlights. I wanted to find that thing. Okay, so people, children. I'm trying to find the bit that literally and I formulated this thought beforehand, like, and it was so funny that I took this book out because on one of the last pages, I'll find it, not on your time, but it's that thing that I was saying. How can you, as a doctor, everyone swears that a doctor, they take this oath not to do any harm. But one of the first things I highlighted in this book, it was towards the end of the book, was like about the precautions of hormone therapy, about transitioning children. And the doctor said it herself in a very different way. And doctors need to be careful, basically, with having surgeries on children because she put it in just different words on how is that not harm to the children when this child's an adult and they can't even make that decision for themselves anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
really I can find her wording because I was like, oh my God, it was the because I read books backwards and
Okay.
I get to the juice first and I just go backwards. And man, I wish I could just find this just to I know I've proven so much to you already, but
Well, I mean, she's basically saying not only do we need to exercise caution, we need to exercise an abundance of caution.
dude, and there's the transsexual child handbook. I have so many books that literally point out go slow. No one's thinking about all these people, man, like that are just that want their promotion. And that just brings me back to the generalization of how humanity has become so parasitic off of one another. How can we do this to children?
Well,
How can how can we do this to children? This
that's the question. That's the question. I mean, and the thing is, it was a slow drip too. Now, I caught on to it right once this bubbled up in popular culture. I caught on, and I had some resistance to it, some openness, as I said, but some resistance. But it was a slow drip. It was a incremental. And now where we're at, that's the question. How can we do this? I mean, it's how did we get here? How do we allow ourselves to get to this point, which is really grotesque and diabolical?
Ex- dude, it's so sinister and so it's almost like it's a different form of sacrifice without using that term.
Or what the or Nazi experimentation, or anything like that that's using children as like meat and their minds as like something to chew on, and sink one's claws into. And to say the least, I find that highly disturbing and completely unacceptable.
Yeah, I can't find it now, but I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna take a picture of it for
Please
you.
do, please do.
I really want you to, because I just have so much highlighted shit, but it's like it's like 3 paragraphs. Even simple things like this. I just highlighted a simple sentence. Gender is not static. It changes over time.
Mm,
Why would you cage a child with an irreversible surgery then? If
mm.
child is just dancing with the idea of an identity, why are we rushing them in to cage them? If you just said it yourself, that it's constantly change for me, and I put myself through the system, the real system, the system where doctors actually cared about people and did the right thing for people. Even something like that, man. It's like so simple and blatantly in your fucking face, man. It's just like I just don't understand. I don't understand.
Well, I don't know if there is. I don't know that understanding that is necessary to counteracting it. I think I think it's I think it's more important to reach the people who can be reached,
Right.
and also to make sure that the people in decision-making positions are reached. That's the person to argue with, not so much convincing the person you know. So it's more about reversing the tide to some degree. And I think we're at a point where
Look, even look, babe, like even like you were saying before, even something so simple. You, the parents of a gender creative children, may never want to be a gatekeeper, but you will sometimes need to be the engineer driving that train, the way you said about your own daughter, pulling the brakes or slowing things down along the gender journey when need be.
right, which is completely that has been completely obliterated
Right
from
there.
where we're at now.
I say go fucking put the brakes on.
Right, right.
Just because your kid thinks he's a she today, you dude, I just had Thanksgiving. My son, my friends, they have a 10-year-old son. The dog is with us. We hosted it upstairs. This fucking kid, 10 years old, he was on his hands and knees for about 6 hours. He thought he was a dog.
Oh my God.
He turned into my dog and played with the dog the entire evening of Thanksgiving. And I said, this is how impressionable children are.
Well, that's how creative they are. So imagine if we had said, you're a dog, and that's how adventurous and that's how much they want to embody different things. I think that's a good. My daughter keeps trying to get into her. I'm in her bedroom actually. She's trying to get in here. Um, I'm happy to pick this up to keep this going over email. I want to thank you for sharing everything. We can talk about little clips. Your phone has better quality than this Zoom camera. So if I blow up your side reading it, it'll be kind of, but I can still work with that too. I can make little clips.
Are you going to post the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm going to post the whole thing
Send me the
and
post it on my social.
absolutely. And then I can also make little clips out of that part too.
That would be cool.
Um, but yeah, I really appreciate comparing notes and being able to work through all of these concepts with you. I mean, I really think you're in a position to help the two different mindsets of this reconcile and heal. I think perhaps that is
Yeah.
your sole purpose.
You just need to slow down, babe. That's the union right there. And maybe I am a catalyst for that, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'll be overlooked as I usually am. It's like I know one of my rants, they blew up on libs of TikTok, and
Hmm.
TikTok picked up one of my rants and it literally it almost reached 5 million people. It had like 75,000 retweets. This was on X. And then I went to Libs on Instagram and it reached fucking like 230,000 people. And my video reached 100,000 people. There's still, but my message is just, it's based on clarity. Go slow. You want to play? Go play. You want to have fun? Go have fun. But go slow. Don't make a medical prisoner as your of your child. We never even mentioned, Jazz Jennings.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
She
Yes.
had multiple surgeries down there. This poor kid isn't even fucking 16 years old, man. She's like, she still doesn't know who she is. She
But she
said,
was way younger than that when they did that
I
on the
know.
show. Yeah, yeah.
He got a fucking clout piece of to me, the family should be all and TMZ because I'm sure they influenced the family financially.
They put him
They
up to it.
they put the whole thing about it, and this kid is not going to make it. I hope she does, and I hope she turns out okay. But even in the most recent, I think it was last year, I saw a recent episode. Someone sent it to me of Jazz. I still don't. It was almost as if her mother was still forcing her into this world that she's a confused kid. And now you've had multiple surgeries down there, like, and then TMZ has all the wine mommies sitting at the table, drinking their champagne and their bubbly, and they're talking about when their child's next gender surgery is. I mean, what the fuck is going on, homie? What is going?
Yeah, I mean that's what we're,
Yeah, and
and I don't.
thank you for this because even from the Buck interview, even from that experience, I learn every day and I pick up new thoughts and patterns every day. And even because I'm constantly thinking and reframing my thought process, this came out even nicer than the whole Buck thing. I was even a bit more disheveled there, but it was like, I want to thank you for actually being persistent with me and kind of getting under my skin and wanting to do this for me. And I really appreciate that You turned out to be a fucking warrior. I really like you. I think you're a good guy. I love your energy around you. And I really appreciate you giving me the voice to just go, 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 and being another warlord by my side that just wants to see the people and planet in its right balanced place. And I appreciate you for really being compassionate, really good at your job, and being really fucking smart. And thank you for being persistent with me and giving me another opportunity. And also, too, for fighting the fight with me, because this is a dangerous fight. And you're brave to even want to even fucking talk to me because no one from Vice, from Rolling Stone.
No, none of the sites. I mean, I'm curious what Revolver will do because they
Revolver's great. They got
okay.
back. They always supported me. They always supported Life of Agony. You know what? Revolver was only the one of the only Revolver and I believe Century Media were the only two outlets that did right by me. They literally posted my video and said, "You have to watch this. You have to learn
Right.
out Mina's thing, Papa." Instead of people like Blabbermouth and Vice and Dale, everyone used a word or a line that made me look like a fucking asshole. Like
Well,
the
and also one of them, I don't remember which one it was. I saw all those links. One of them posted old unsubstantiated data as if it was hard fact, and there was no mention of the cast report, nothing. They were citing old these sort of these statistics that on further inspection have really been called into doubt. And they were sort of using the same playbook to kind of undercut your point. I know one of those sites did that. I have all the links listed somewhere, and I find that really underhanded and unacceptable. There's something that clicked while you were talking, and I appreciate everything you said very much. It means a ton to me. But there's something that clicked about hour and a half ago. So for a long, 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 long time, I had, and this is for like 30 plus years, on and off. I've had anxiety that manifests as, oh, I'm afraid something's wrong with my heart. I'm afraid my heart's going to stop. I'm afraid I'm, going to have a cardiac arrest.
my uncle's like that.
So I didn't realize there's a term for this called cardiophobia, which is hilarious.
Interesting.
Sometimes I can laugh about it, right? So I've gone to doctor after doctor after doctor after doctor. I've gone to the ER dozens of times since I was 21. It actually happened when I was smoking weed in my early 20s. And I remember a few years back being on the treadmill at the cardiologist, and they were mad at me. The lady was like, "You really have no reason to be here. You basically need to get the fuck out of here. Your heart is fine." My dad is an MD. My mom is an RN. My dad is like, "Dude, there's nothing wrong with your heart." So, okay. But
Wow.
and it's fine now, right? It's fine. And occasionally it starts to crop up. But one of the things that I noticed once, one of the things that clicked when I read this cardiophobia definition, there's a tendency to really, really, really need validation from a medical exam or a doctor to tell you you're fine, and you get this like sense of peace, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, and it doesn't last very long, and it's not long before you're back out there having some kind of episode, calling for an ambulance, and they're like, dude, you're fine, right? So that reminds me of what you were talking about when you said living under the knife, always chasing the knife. That relief, I had to find that internally because if I keep looking for it from a doctor, the high wears off. And I had never thought of my situation and the people who either need plastic surgery or some sort of endless treadmill that they're on, that they're always chasing something they're never going to get. So that's just a new way of thinking about it, that we got to sort of stop where we are and just stand still and be like, okay, I'm not going to get that reassurance. Maybe I am freaking out right now, but what do I do to get myself through it right now? What do I have internally
Yeah.
to weather the storm as opposed to going and reaching for the phone where I know it's going to feel good for a few days, but then I'll be right back where I started or even worse.
Yeah. It's like that. Like the most important part of my journey is when I hit a roadblock, and my road split. And I was just like, okay, okay, you've been off of hormones 6, 7 years. However, hormones were feminizing me, completely went away because it was like, how long could I get away with living as a woman before my masculine physical traits start coming back? And now, 2 years ago, I'm just like, yo, nigga, you're looking more like a dude. I was embracing my male energy more and more. During COVID, I grew out my beard. I'm like, I started missing myself. I
Well,
realized that I killed this energy to create a new one that only later down on the path, I, I wound up being in another cage. I was in my born male cage. Then I wound up almost 20 years later in my trans woman slash male cage. And it all turned into like being a cage. I wound up just caging myself all the time until it was just like, okay, I had to get really deep, dig down deep and find the strength and be like, yo, we're, we're going either this way, we're going to get the surgery, get them out. No, you're never going on hormones. You're never going to chase the knife to chase pretty and cut your face up. You're never going down there. You're never going to get bigger tits. You only did it for anatomical reasons because one turned out nice, one turned out to be like a hanging fucking mango. Hormones don't, you got it's a trial by error. Um, and it was like, or do I follow the path of all my transsexual girls that are fucking literally miserable and have no lives and don't really still don't love themselves, but now have literally dumped more and more weight and trauma on top of their already traumatized journey. Like I have my gorgeous friend, she's gorgeous. She got work about 10 years ago, very young, transsexual girl. You probably know her. I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But okay, she's a gorgeous guy too. She's gorgeous transsexual. Now it's already like less than 10 years later. And she's already in that negative, oh my God, my face is melting. I got to book, sir. I got to do that. I can't even listen to it anymore. I'm like, you poor thing. I got a lot of friends that don't talk to me now because I'm talking about how plastic surgery is an empowerment. Listen, it's a miracle. Like, for example, my doctor that I mentioned to you, his name is Dr. Robert Morin, if you want to look him up. Not this is saying anything, but he was on Dr. Phil, he was on Oprah. When Haiti had those earthquakes or whatever that was, him, Dr. Morin, and his team of surgeons, there was 9 surgeons, they went out there on pro bono. They were putting fucking kids' heads together. He's like
mm.
those clept um, doctors that, if a kid's born without a fucking ear or without a top lip, that dude, he does breast augmentations, doesn't do that, does this for men, but there's certain things he will do and will not do. Like I was telling you about the medical slash surgical medical turf wars that are going on. Um, and what the fuck was I saying?
Well, he went there. Your friend, your friend
Oh,
who is already feeling like her face is sagging and things like that, and then you're talking about Dr. Morris and Haiti.
Dr. Morin, yeah. So like,
Morin.
I just look, yeah. It's like I don't with surgery. I'm not knocking surgeons or surgery at all. When it's I'm all for it when it's aesthetically needed.
Well, when it's actually restorative versus something that's going to get you hooked,
This
just like I was hooked.
yes, this cosmetic, mindless thing now that I see all my girlfriends. I see my girl, so gorgeous. And I'm just like, oh my God, her cheekbones are down here now. 5 years ago, she was all gorgeous, tight. Now her fucking cheekbones look like they're over here, and she needs a. And I'm just like, oh my God, that's exactly what I don't. That's not empowerment to me. And that's the kind of shit. If that's the kind of shit I have to look more forward to on my trans journey, it ain't happening. So I said goodbye. That's it. And I had to make clear, concise decisions for myself about, okay, what's more important? My mental health is everything to me. And I would be I would be deepening the abyss of trauma if I went that way, and that's why I wound up just taking myself off hormones and reverting and becoming a new being. It's not like I'm detransitioning. I'm just transitioning into a newer, more healed version of myself, and that's what I am. I'm
Right.
still up. I still got layers and layers of trauma that I got to work out. I'm not perfect. I'm a very botched, flawed, imperfect human being, and I'm proud of that. But you know what, Sabe? I work on myself every day, babe. All I want is peace and health in my life now. And I've learned so much on my journey. I have more confidence than I ever had as far as sharing my journey because I'm gonna be butting heads with so many different kinds of people. I gotta know what I'm talking about, and I know I do. I know I'm solid in my gut. I know what's up in my instinct, and everything that I've been through that told my story, and that's all I'm doing is just telling my story. You're gonna hate me because I'm giving you truth because I'm proving that we used to sign consent forms because of all the hormone backlash, but I'm the enemy. I'm just trying to make everyone's life a little bit more like, yo, think before you make decisions. Think. Like I got it's this Italian friend of mine. He just came out as a she. I personally think he's just gay and he can't tell his Italian family, so he comes out as a woman, but and he's got all the wrong ideas about this, man. And now he's against me because of my rhetoric. And I'm just like, you're so fucking stupid. You're so unaware of yourself that you don't even realize that I'm giving you 20 plus years of information and navigation that I'm saving you so much time. So if you want to go ahead and get bottom surgery and you're almost 60 years old, go ahead. If that's what you think is going to make you happier, dude, go ahead. But I'm telling you, I'm laying it all out here. Think before you fucking do things, dude. Think.
Yeah, you're turning him on to some game, and he's not willing to hear it. I mean, really, all you're doing is saying, look before you leap.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
basically it.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, it's
Well, Keith,
yeah.
good luck with your surgery on the 28th.
Thank you, my friend.
Um, this has been a pleasure. I really appreciate you doing this. And, what you said means a lot. I appreciate everything you said about my approach here. Yes, I'm going
Had
to
a
post this
great
whole.
time, man. Thank you. You're a great interviewer, and I wish you all the success in the world, man.
Thank you.
Seriously, like more people, more journalists like you need to be fucking coming out with their fucking M16 and bulletproof jackets swinging, man, because it's people like you too, like, you know, that are gonna help people like us, man, that are just don't want to see anyone getting harmed anymore and misled. And the fact that you give me this window, it's incredible, and I thank you for it. I appreciate you a lot. I do, and I wish you all the best. Your daughter's lucky to have a father like you, man. That's
Thank you.
all I could say. You seem like a great, great guy. Yeah.
Thanks, man. And I'll keep in touch as we go along. Listen, there's a book. you got to read, which is not really related to this,
Okay.
but it's something you touched on. It's called The Cosmic Serpent by a guy named Jeremy Narby. You got it on your shelf? I should have presumed that you had it already.
This book fucked me up so much,
All
dude.
right.
What the fuck is it?
Then you know what I'm talking about. You know. There you go.
I
I
read
should
it. I read it 3, 4 times already. I love this book so much. Actually, this book, when I read this first, gave me such strange dreams because of the dude who lived in the jungle that was talking about. I think I went into his fucking mind. I think I went there. Like, I read this book years ago, but you know what? Why did you bring this up to me?
because you talked about doing peyote and doing rituals with
Ceremonies.
plant hallucinogens with shaman. And I just think that book was recommended to me by a geology PhD, like a scientist recommended that book. And I just thought that the idea that plant life and the DNA of the whole planet is synergistically communicating with itself is awesome to consider. And there's something else I'll run by you too, which might
And
give
wait,
you,
more importantly, to even expand on that, I don't know if you have a book called Mycelium Running by Paul Stamets.
I've never heard of it.
I'll turn you on. I'll send you a couple of books of what you should. First of all, mushrooms are the network of the cosmos and the planet. Without the network of mycelium, the fungi creates everything. We have fungi. We have the receptors in our brain for marijuana, for magic mushrooms. Like, we're
Right.
built with the fucking hardware to go there with it. And that's why I use it in a very medicinal way. I never abuse it. It's a very sacred thing to me. That's why I have books like this, my friend, because I know what the fuck is up. I don't know everything, but I'm learning. And, but the, and that's why I'm big on mushrooms, not even just the magic mushrooms.
No,
Shiitake,
just mushrooms in general as a
lion,
life form.
yeah, lion's mane, shiitake, portobello, the health benefits. Even my dog, I've been giving my dog shiitake mushrooms for years because she's a chihuahua. She comes in with skin issues, all gone. Shiitake mushroom, I believe, took that all away from her.
Well, it's all so I was at a Pantera show in 1994 and I was towards the back and I remember when they flashed the marijuana flags. They had these like huge banners with marijuana, the pot leaf, and I remember it hitting me at that show. It was actually Pantera Sepultura Biohazard in 94. And I'm 50. I just turned 52 in November.
Happy
So I
birthday.
was 21 when this show
Wow.
came through here. And I was towards the back and I remember thinking, wow, we are like ants. Like if when you get on board with marijuana, it's a one intelligence and we're like ants or bees to honey. This organism is maybe more powerful than we are because why is this band flashing these big giant flags like we smoke weed, okay? And like the whole crowd's like yes. It's like wow, we're this fucking thing is controlling us in
Yeah.
a way. And I'll leave you with one last thought. Years and years ago I read a Time Life Nature book. It was like a coffee table book. And in that book was an essay. I wish I still had it because I don't know how to find it anymore. That suggested, now I'm not totally on board with this, but it's interesting. It suggested that multicellular organisms, that we have the whole um, idea of nature, higher and lower nature, flipped upside down. Multicellular organisms are actually at the bottom of the food chain, and single cellular organisms are at the top. It was an interesting theory that all of consciousness and what our brains do is is actually riding on top of all the processes that single cellular organisms do. So in other words, we think we're at the top, we're conscious beings, we're at the top. What if it's the other way around and all this other stuff that's happening? So that goes into the Jeremy Narby thing with the DNA. What if it's microorganisms that are really in charge and we're just along for the ride? Just something to think about. I'm not married to the idea, but I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
Well, what I could add to that is that we, in very essence, we are microorganisms as well. So
Totally. Billions of them.
I think I agree with this nature thing where the pyramid is upside down. We're not at the top of the food chain. It's those single-celled organisms that scientists or whoever the fuck they are, that unless they've already discovered it and it's just a big, big secret, the origin of life
Mm.
is a single celled that no one could not not one brilliant mind could ever describe. Like what's his name in that book? Life Itself from Francis Crick. You know that book?
No, I don't. I don't.
Anyway, he's one of those cats that get big into like, yeah, like I mean, when you just think about the magic mushroom, the compounds within that, and when it interferes, well, not necessarily interferes, but when it works in our chemistry, I mean, look at what happened when you do a heroic dose, even a micro dose. What happens to the brain and these little single celled fucking, even those before an amphibian was an amphibian, like these microscopic things even that are floating around in marshes or ponds, like they could be the superior ones on the planet, and we're literally, I don't know. It's almost like, I mean, I love the human race, but we become superior at pretty much, we're destroying everything. I mean, what
Well,
that kind of shit in a different interview, like I don't believe in Darwinism.
hmm. I'd love to hear you talk about that at some point.
Well, it's real
Um,
quick. Darwin was a Freemasonry.
mm.
Everything seems preordained or planned because when you think about it, nature doesn't. It's in nature. It's not survival of the fittest. Nature collaborates.
It's
Humanity,
interlocks. It interlocks.
yeah, humanity competes. Nature, we're a very disconnected animal from nature anyway. That's a big part of the problem as well. When we as a people disconnect from God and nature, we have the cultures that we have. Every culture has fallen. Babylon fell. Every time the species went way too far from its origin, in a sense, like what we're doing to kids and how yeah, it's all changing and growing and expanding and getting all too big for all of us. But it's like with nature, when you think the gazelle gave its life up so the tiger could survive, it's a collaboration with nature. This whole Darwin. This dude was a Freemason anyway, in the bloodline. Like I don't believe in all that bullshit anyway. I believe in survival of the most compassionate. Really, it's like
Well, it all interlocks, and there's a super consciousness to it all, and we are the only organism on Earth that appears to be separated from it in a way that we're finding our way back. It's a lot similar actually to your identity journey and everything we've been talking about, where it's like how do we weave that back together so that it's all whole, so that it includes everything at once, and that we are in harmony, in concert with everything, because we went off that track a long time ago. It was long before hormone treatments. We were off that track millennia ago,
Yeah.
and we've known that. And I think we're trying to get back somehow to that. We know that that's something we're missing. That we're a discordant note. We're almost an affront to nature. And so, how do we reintegrate ourselves? And that's what this entire struggle with trans and sexuality and biology and gender and all that is some attempt at us somehow finding our rightful place in things, in the merger with consciousness and the physical and the spirit, and I actually think we're doing well, believe it or not. I actually think we're fumbling our way through it, but listen, they
Yo,
call it.
I think humanity's at a point, babe, where no one really cares. No one really cares. We're sitting at a restaurant and here comes a man dressed as a woman. No one gives a fuck. We're all at this level of like, whether you tolerate it or accept it or you're just being kind, like there is a kindness that exists. Like no one cares. When I was knee deep in the transitional beat, I'd have the sweetest old ladies talking to me like, I know you're but you look so pretty as a girl, and come on, I'm gonna hold you, I'm gonna cross you, because I'm that type of person that's always grabbing the old lady and walking her across the and screaming at all the shut the fuck up, stop beeping. There's you know what I mean? I'm like one of those people in the street, like I'm crossing an old lady. Shut the fuck up with your horn. Where are you going? I'm crossing the street. I'm like real Brooklyn in that sense where like
Sure.
I just people don't care if you're lesbian, if you're gay, if I was in the deli the other day. Here comes this dude, a full beard, hairy fucking chest and legs. He's wearing a pink little dress. I was like, oh my God, dude.
Isn't that hilarious? You were judging.
Yeah, exactly. I was like more like, dude, this is not how you do it, bro. Okay. But you could do it any way you want. But, like, but no one in the deli, it was like the guy didn't even exist. You know what I mean? No one was saying anything. Everyone just looking and hi, hi, hi. I was looking in my head like, because I hang out with transsexual girls that's a fucking no-no.
Well, that's hilarious because you were being judgmental in a way that other people weren't. So I mean
Right.
that that tells us pretty much where we're at. Um I gotta let you go.
Go do your thing. Lots of love to you and your family.
Thank you.
Happy belated birthday. And just keep in touch. Let me know when it's up. I
Yeah,
got a girl. We'll swipe it from you. I'll put it on my YouTube. And if you ever do little snippets, send them to me, and I'll
I
fucking
will.
on my Instagram, and we'll get fucking tons of you know.
Thank you. I absolutely will do that. Last thing before I let you go. What's the status of Life of Agony's drummer situation?
Veronica's been in the band.
Okay.
She's been in the band now for what?
Years.
Yes, almost
Okay.
years now. She's still in the band. We're still great. We're going on the Biohazard tour. We start February 21st, I believe. We start off in Ireland. No, she's all good. She's with us. She was just on Chef Ramsay. She plays with her girlfriend's brother's drumming kind of percussion act too. And they were just on Hell's Kitchen. I know that because I love Ramsay. It's the only TV show I watch. Because I like
Okay, yeah, because I just hadn't seen her and I knew you were doing acoustic dates recently, so
yeah,
I just wasn't sure
that
what.
was the thing where the three of us for years we wanted to do something on our own, just the three of us, and then we did the movie. So we thought Joey came up with the idea where, hey man, why don't we because in Europe you can't watch the movie anywhere.
Mm.
The movie's not out in Europe. You got to order it DVD. It's a different fucking climate over there. So like the whole idea was like, how about we, people that doing spoken word tours and all this bullshit. We'll get the film. We'll show the film in the club. We'll do a Q&A, and then we do a fucking 90-minute, 100-minute acoustic performance. And that was the evening. And it was so great last year in February. It almost sold out everywhere that we wanted to do markets this winter that we just did that we weren't really so popular in, and you couldn't definitely get the movie like in Poland. We were in Slovakia, but no, Veronica, we're all good. Veronica gave up. She was, of course, she loves the band. She was a fan before she was in the band, so she gave us our blessings, because we talked to her about it. Like, would this make you feel bad? We want to just do, no, no, it's your movie. Like, we're very cool, man. It's very cool. It's all good, man. In fact, it's like a no. It's so kind of understood in that situation where we hardly speak about anything.
Mm.
There's no ego. Me and Alan brought the Crow to me years ago, about 10 years ago. We demoed it together. The song has been alive for about 10 years, but we never really released. Our boy Corinne Hardy, he was gonna do the new Crow film before this new one. Corinne is our boy. He did The Nun. We known him for a very long time, and he was going to do the original remake of The Crow, and wanted Life of Agony to do the Crow song, the music, and that's how it all started. But then Hollywood basically, whatever producers he was working with, they rewrote his script, and he was like, "Yo, I'm fucking out of here," because creatively it was nothing he presented to them. And then we found out this new Crow film was going to come out. So we were like, yo, we all love Brandon Lee and that whole thing. So we just kind of wanted to do like a little spite release. So
Okay.
we just basically like, since we weren't really all fans of like the fact that they were making a remake, and then our boy Corinne got completely kiboshed, we were just like, so the song existed, and then we brought it to Joey. We added some more tracks. We did some more things to it. Whatever, we did the little AI video thing that we did because we did it in a rush. It was definitely a rush job. Nothing, no, it wasn't the greatest vids, but for the budget and for the time, we did it in like 2 days. So we had no time for it, and because we had other things going on, and we really wanted to release it at a certain point. The original AI guys that were supposed to do the video, they bailed out on us at the last minute. They gave us these other guys, and their demos were great, but the video didn't really come out the way. But well, good. We just put it out anyway.
Okay, so where's do things stand as far as any new material, and also you have a bunch of unreleased material yourself, like you did it, you either wrote or did an album right after your father passed away. This is, going on, this is 17 years ago at this point, and you have a bunch of your own stuff. I'm curious, uh, is it still like the case where you have your cousin designated as the person who's going to decide, what to do with all that, all your journals, all your lyrics, sheets and everything? Where does all that stand?
What do you mean? Like as far as like solo
Well,
shit?
yeah. So, what are we looking at as far as any new Life of Agony material, and also your unreleased archive of stuff,
Oh man.
which when I saw you in an interview in like 2008 say that you had put your cousin in charge of your like creative estate, sort of.
Yeah.
That they
Like
that
if I die, all my music vault, all my hard drives, the years and years that I have records on vault that um, that'll wait to come out, and then I'll do some cement work to them. But I have so much material that um that yeah, if I was just like, yo, I just had to put it out there for a living will. If I were to go, I want to give all of my music to probably Alan and Joey, and then probably my friend Maya will get a piece, and my friend Yochum, who's been my drummer to my solo band since '99. So, like, if anything ever did happen to me, all the money, all the residuals that I make, all the royalties and stuff like that, which isn't astronomical, but it helps. That would all, and I would want Joey, because Joey's like, he's like a clinical fucking producer, mastering engineer. He's got all the best gear. He's got all the state of the art fucking Neumann mics and Neumann fucking uh, um, soundboard gear and faders and yeah, I think every time I do an album, I'll have Joey master it now, because he's great at what he does, and he's so into it. And Joey's worked on side projects with me. He's done
Hmm.
the Neptune Darlings, which is a very different project for me. If you go to my linked tree, Jammy, it'll take you to Keith's music, and it's like most of my catalog, most of my solo work. The last album I did was called The Moans. No one catches on to my
Mm.
no one catches on to my um kind of secretive. I'm not even so secretive about it, but
It's a little cryptic. Is it, so how did you spell it? Mones or Moans? Moans, right?
Mones as home.
Ah, so yeah, that's not that cryptic. That's not, it's cryptic, but it's obvious.
This shit. And then it was the first album I did not on hormones, and it was like all about me kind of pushing back on my own imbalance of what I am and who I am and what I think I'm experiencing. So that was my latest work. I think it was a few years ago, but as
I'll
far as
check it out. I'll check it out. As far as Life of Agony is, I'll
back
check out.
material, I think we were discussing, and we might do song by song now. And then once we have 40 something minutes, and then we'll put together the whole album and put it out. But I think we might just do song by song. I might want to do that too, but I don't know. I like still being super old school and not really following the way everyone does out there. So I might probably um, release another record, maybe at the end of this year, or because I've been dying to as well. I've also been wanting to release. I've been working on a classical album as well, like Satie. Eric's
Yes.
a very Satie style classical album where it's just 2 3 minute pieces, no vocal, all classical, all in that Eric Satie vibe, and then just kind of like incorporate maybe some kind of like Brian Eno um, approach to giving each song its different delays and reverbs and Brian Eno, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Brian Eno, so like Joey, I'll have him help me with that too, and then maybe just one other instrument will be nylon guitar, which my friend plays incredibly. He plays on all my solo albums too since Died Laughing, my friend Rob Mastriani. And yeah, one day at a time. I want to get through my surgery. I want to heal. We got the biohazard tour to do, like I won't even have that much time to rest and heal. Um, but maybe I do, yeah, pretty much we're taking the summer off, and might just do a couple of festivals, so I have plenty of time where I can just hang with my dog, take care of the dog, and maybe I'll drop because I won't do no more than 40 minutes of music anyway. I like doing it old school, like Bowie. Every album he did was like 39 minutes, 35 minutes. So I want to do like Bowie, release more albums before I die, but less of a time, like 35-minute albums, like the old school days before labels wanted 50 minutes of your shit. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at right now. I'm always singing. I'm singing every day. I'm always playing, always fussing around stuff. I just did a show for TLC, which went out of business, but I got paid anyway. I did a 13 episode. I did all the music, scored all the music for a show called Reconstructed, where a couple of dentists um, basically went around to help out people who couldn't afford dental, crackheads, someone who was abused and the girl got her teeth knocked out. They needed to redo her whole mouth, and I basically made music to all of the whole. It's not my first time, but I do music for indie films. I did music for a Swiss science team. I got a lot of fans in a lot of different areas that want a lot of different kinds of music from me. So it's pretty fucking cool that and that I'll get extra kind of jobs to bring in some money to help me and live. You know what I mean?
Just think about doing a box set or something. And if you need liners,
Yeah,
hit
absolutely.
me up.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely.
But you should think about doing like a multi-disc,
I
nice
will.
package.
A vinyl box set actually with all my albums. I wanted to bring back the cassette, the vinyl, the CD, and do like a, a big treasure chest of all my solo work when the time comes. When
Where and Alan could do like artwork that ties the whole package together, like each vinyl sleeve you pull out, they're
yeah,
like variations on, well, you paint too, so but I
yeah.
mean,
No,
you
I
know,
don't. Honestly, I don't like to do my own artwork. I like other people to do it for me. I like that. I'm not a control freak like that.
but Alan could do something where like it unifies all the different pieces of it and you lay it out and it makes a whole thing, you know what I'm saying? So just some ideas, like I said, if you need liners,
Yeah, absolutely.
vertical.
I will. I like
Or
you. Good guy. I'm happy that I'm happy I agreed to do this. Because at first I was like, who is this fucking girl? I'm like, I think I was in a bad head. I was actually talking to you when I was out on the road. So I was just like not in the mood to talk to anyone because it was just like no matter what I say, what video, it's like all these motherfuckers just want to take my word. That's why I was like a little weird at first. I wasn't sure like who is this person? Like, but I'm happy that we did it. And my bad that I took so long, but
it's all right. No, it's all right. Look, it's divine timing.
yeah, exactly.
Rock on, man. Good luck with
Yeah,
your
thank you.
surgery and great getting to talk to you, meet you,
Yeah,
and let's keep in touch. And we'll totally keep in touch about this, but I'm talking about other things, book
absolutely.
recommendations, music, whatever. Just,
Lots of love to you, babe.
likewise.
You have a great week.
You too, man. Have a good night. Good
Take
luck to you with your dog too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, she needs it. Thank you. Thank you. We're doing everything we can for her. She has all the right medications, and it's just a matter of time. The
Sure.
doctor gave her 6 months, man. I'm so beside myself, dude. It's
Well,
like,
it's just a matter of making her quality of life.
yeah,
And you could play her that piano music.
yeah, I do.
I mean, she's a Chihuahua. I don't know if she'll be into
Oh
that.
no, she loves it. She loves
Okay.
being by my side, whether I'm painting. She's when I'm practicing piano, she's in her bed right next. She wants to be right next to me all the fucking time.
Well,
But
that's
thing, I don't want to keep you anymore. I know I
it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. It takes
but
two to tango. All right, man. I'll
be a
talk
good
to you
boy.
soon. All right. Well, I'll do my best. All right. Take it easy.